Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Deku became the hidden hero part 1. If you guys enjoy this what if and want to see part 2, comment down below. And let me know before I start. Please do support for more awesome content and leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And also share this video with your friends and check out the description in my playlist. The author of the story 𝗂𝐭𝐴 2804 from 𝗂𝐵. So let's start the video. Time passed many years from now as many varieties of quirks began to develop among humanity. Thus, it soon became a normal thing to possess the world populated by quirks. Soon began the rise of heroes, people who use their gifted powers for justice and integrity to protect the innocent and the weak. But there are also villains who use their powers out of their own conviction and ideals. The battle of heroes and villains had been witnessed and passed by throughout the years. But it was not only quirks that began to cover the whole population of the world. There were two. First, it was then discovered that everyone has their fated mates. It is said that these fated people will know the one when they felt the hands of that person. Many testified the feeling of finding their fated mates. But it is said that you'll feel that person as someone you will never want to lose. When that happens, they will be able to feel their mates in emotions and presence. Another rise and change society. A hierarchy was formed, the Alpha, Beta, and Omega population. The Alphas were considered as the first of that hierarchy, the powerful and dominant ones. Majority of these Alphas are granted with powerful quirks, and no chance of being quirkless. They are already ensured a life of success and luxury. Depending on how the Alpha is, the Beta is the middle class of the hierarchy, can either mate a dominant Alpha or find their submissive Omega. Chances of them getting a powerful quirk is a bit high, but has low chance of being quirkless. The Omegas, however, being in the lowest part of the hierarchy, was considered as the most treasured price among both Alpha and Beta, especially if the Omega possesses a powerful quirk. It is everyone's dream to find an Omega as their mate for life. At the age of 4, quirks began developing, and at the age of 8, that's where they'll come out by neither of the three. But the day where their fated mates will appear was unknown. No one knows the exact time. In a certain park, a 6-year-old boy with green curly hair was shoved down on the floor. His eyes were teary as he looked at his friend. The others merely laughed at the sight of young Izuku being pushed away. "Kaken, please let me come with you." But the blonde-haired kid merely clicked his tongue out of annoyance and glared back. "Why would I let you come with me, shitty Deku? Roman 2 just want to follow Kaken. It seems fun." "No, you can't, Deku. I mean, you're fucking useless. You don't have a quirk, right? What would a quirkless Deku do anyway? But hold us back." But Kaken. Izuku stood up and tried to get near him. But Bakugo raised his hand and shot a weak explosion in front of him. Izuku could only move back out of fear. While Bakugo's other friends just laughed at him, Izuku secretly held his right hand, showing a small but superficial burn mark in his skin. "Tch, follow us and you're good as dead. Hear me?" Izuku nods, holding back his tears. "Come on, let's leave this quirkless loser." His friends agreed and left Izuku with sneers visible in their faces. Izuku just ran by the shade of the tree and sat down. He was crying from the pain of the burn, and that his childhood friend still continued to ignore him. Ever since Bakugo's quirk appeared, he showed no sympathy to Izuku, calling the boy quirkless. Since they entered first grade, the news of Izuku being quirkless spread like wildfire thanks to Bakugo's loud mouth and some of his friends' ways of spreading gossip. Add the fact that he is a bit sickly when the moment strikes. "It's not fair, it's not fair," Izuku silently mutters as he sobs. "Promise me, Izuku, okay? You're the only one I have. I don't want to lose you. It's not fair. See, can I be a hero?" At a young age, people started avoiding him like a plague. Being quirkless meant that you're at the bottom of society. The useless member, that's what Bakugo meant of his nickname Deku, a useless kid. He tried to make friends, but Izuku, having no quirk, just made them want to avoid him. Bakugo was having friends and quickly became popular due to his grades and quirk. Izuku may be smarter than Bakugo, but it still didn't waver their opinions about him. Midoriya Izuku became their living joke, speaking to him in false pretenses, showing him that he's not worth looking at. A Deku who couldn't do anything. He then heard the voices of those people looking at him with pity and disdain. He never wanted a life of being quirkless. He also dreamed to be a hero like All Might. But how that was his thoughts. "Hey, are you okay?" Izuku's thoughts were interrupted when he heard a voice. He looked anywhere and found no one. "There is no one here." "That's because in behind the tree." Izuku then looked by his side and saw a boy with dual-colored hair and eyes staring at him. The other boy with a burnt scar on his left eye was still behind the tree. but he decided to show himself sorry. I just heard you crying, and I decided to check on you. Are you hurt? Izuku wiped his face. I'm okay. But the other boy noticed Izuku holding his hand. His eyes widened when he saw the fresh burn mark. He quickly went beside Izuku and observed the burn mark. No, you're not. Where did you get this? The boy asked. My friend accidentally fired his quirk. Izuku then noticed the hard look on the boy's face. But I'm fine. It's no big deal. It's a big deal to me. What if that friend of yours made the wrong move? Let me take care of it. When the boy's right hand held Izuku's hand, both felt something off yet welcoming at the same time. Floods of emotions spread throughout each other. But the other boy sensed Izuku's sadness and pain. Izuku then felt the fear yet the feeling of love and content at the other boy. Then they were cut out from their trance. His right hand then starts to spread ice toward Izuku's own burn marks, slightly covering Izuku's hand. Before the green-haired child could ever react, the other boy hugged him. Izuku's eyes widens when the stranger hugs him out of nowhere. It was a stranger to Izuku since he never felt someone other than his mother do this for him. Izuku tried to break free, but the other child didn't even bother to let go. I sensed that you might want a hug, the child bluntly said. I thank you. I'm fine now. The boy quickly moved out of the hug and gave a bright smile. Good, I'm glad. You feel better? Izuku blushed at the boy. Yeah, thank you. My name is Todoroki Shoto. What's your name? Midoriya Izuku. Nice to meet you. Same, Shoto. Then looks back at Izuku's hand. That friend of yours is mean. He's not. It was an accident. Izuku then looks at the ice in his hand in awe. Is this your quirk? Shoto nods. Yeah, I have another, but I don't want to use it though. Oh, Izuku sensed the tension within those words. But still, your quirk is so cool. No, it's not. It is. You have two quirks. I'm sure that you'll be a strong hero like All Might. Shoto's eyes brightens. Really, I'm a fan, but I still vote for Endeavor to the top 2 hero. He's cool. His flames are so powerful. It scares those bad guys away. Shoto nods. Yeah. And when him and All Might teamed up together, yes, no one defeated them. They're the best team that I've ever seen in my life. Shoto nods. As both showed their smiles, the dual-colored child noticed it and pokes on Izuku's cheek. There, you're smiling. That's good. And you also look cute when you smile. Izuku blushes. You also look cute. Izuku then looks at Shoto. Hey, can I call you Shokin? Shoto then blushes and smiles at the nickname. As long as I call Izu, then we're even. Yay, Shoto. 2 voices called from afar. They looked and saw a woman with white hair and a man with red blazing hair. Shoto quickly stood and waved at them. Mom, Dad. Shoto's mom kneeled down and caressed the child's cheek. We told you to stay where we can see you. Sorry, Mom. Shoto looks down. Shoto's dad then caresses his hair and ruffles it a bit. Your mother's just worried, but we're glad that you're okay. The 2 parents then noticed Izuku hiding behind the tree. While looking at them, Shoto took the chance and ran towards the scared green-haired child. They're my parents. They're nice. Shoto held his hand out. I'm sure that they'll love to meet you. Izuku reluctantly held his hand as Shoto led him towards his parents. They showed their soft smiles at the sight of Izuku. Midoriya Izuku. Nice to meet you. Yukio kneels down and smiles. You must be Shoto's new friend. Then Izuku nods. Well, I'm his mother, Todoroki. Yukio. And nice to meet you. Enji then looks at the boy carefully. Izuku fidgets a bit, but Enji smiles and ruffles Izuku's hair. Any friend of Shoto's is a friend of mine. I'm his father, Todoroki. Enji. Izuku nods. Shoto smiles as he held Izuku by his hand. They were awed at the sight of Shoto and Izuku being together. Mom, Dad, can we keep him? He can stay in my room. Enji and Yukio let out a soft chuckle. Yukio then answers, I'm afraid we can't, Shoto dear. He also has parents that are worried for him. Oh, okay. Speaking of which, where are your parents? Izuku-kun. Enji asked. My mother would meet me here. She'll be here any moment. Izuku. They all looked and saw a woman with green hair and freckles running towards them. Inko saw his son with other people and quickly went near him. She kneels down and gave the child a hug. You're okay. You're okay. I'm fine, Mom. He then went out of the hug and smiles. I made a friend today. A friend? Izuku points at the Todoroki family, who gave a wave at Inko. She stood up and went towards them. Thank you for keeping an eye on him. I hope he didn't cause any trouble. Yukio dismisses it. No, it's fine. We just came here too. But our son quickly grew fond with Izuchin here. Shoto nods. He quickly went toward Inko and 𝗵𝘃𝗀 Todoroki Shoto nice to meet you auntie and 𝐒𝐭𝐽𝐲 nice to meet you too Shoto-kun. The three of them also exchanged greetings and introduction. As the two children are stuck with their own conversation. You must be a beta then 𝐴𝐴𝐴, I could tell it from your smell. 𝐎𝐽𝐽𝐲 points it out, I smell an alpha, and omega my you two Ryalu make such a cute couple. 𝐴𝐴𝐴 compliments. NG gently headlocks 𝑎𝐽𝐽𝐲. Don't be fooled, she has an attitude of an alpha. God knows how scary she is when I do something. Keep talking dear, and I'll make sure it will happen. NG wisely kept his mouth shut. But still 𝑎𝐽𝐽𝐲 looks at Izuku. Izuku looks adorable. You must be lucky to have an adorable son. I'm truly lucky. But look at your son 𝑎𝐽𝐽𝐲, he's a charmer. He truly is. NG knew that he couldn't join in the conversation. Women sometimes can't understand them. He then lets his eyes at the children who are holding hands. While talking, NG smiles at the sight of his son smiling. He felt so worried that his son might be traumatized from the injury he received. But it made him feel so relieved at the sight. His eyes then noticed something bright. He quickly called the attention of both 𝐭 and 𝑎𝐽𝐽𝐲. Look, he pointed at the children. They noticed the left wrist of the children slightly glowed quickly. It dissipated, revealing the faded mark of the fated mates. The children's eyes were wide at the mark that was unknown to the both of them. The adults, however, were bewildered right at their very eyes. Their sons found their fated soulmate. You've seen that too, right? 𝐭 asks. Yeah. In order to knock the two women out of their trance, NG called the boys to come over. The two quickly went towards them, without ever letting go of their hands. Can you show us your marks, sweetie? 𝐭 asks. The two of them showed their left wrists. Shoto had the mark of beautiful angel wings. Izuku had a heart which had half red like fire and half blue like water trapped on ice. NG observes the mark on Izuku's hand. Izuku-kun, can you tell me what's your quirk? Izuku quickly panics. As he hit his mark, Shoto felt the distress and held Izuku's hand. Izu, what's wrong? 𝐭 decides to answer the truth. Is Izuku here is quirkless. NG and 𝐭's eyes were as wide as plates. His quirk didn't develop when he was 4. 𝐭 said. Izuku quickly looks away in despair. Now that they know that he's quirkless, they'll give him the same look that others give, then they'll avoid him like a plague. It will happen again, he will be hated. He will still your friend. Izuku's eyes widens and looks back at Shoto. What I said, that still your friend. I want to be friends with you. Really? Shoto nods. I promise. 𝐭 then notices the couple smiling at the sight. She saw no malice behind those smiles, but rather happiness and relief. Maybe, just maybe, they talked for a bit, until it was the time to finally call it a day. 𝐭 exchanged numbers with both NG and 𝐭, so that they can talk and let their sons talk to each other. They exchanged their goodbyes and went on separate ways. While walking, 𝐭 notices the bright smile on Izuku's face. She could only smile in relief that his son met a wonderful boy and made a new friend. I like Shouken, Mom. 𝐭 nods. Me too, son, me too, 𝐭. And NG smiled and chuckled at their son, who kept talking about young Izuku. Knowing the situation of both boys, they are eager to let those two meet once more. Mom, Dad, they looked at their son and answered in unison, yes, I want to protect Izu. The two looked at each other. Shoto then continues to speak. I don't know why, but Izu felt lonely and scared. I don't want to see Izu like that. I want to protect Izu and be Izu's hero. They stopped as the two parents knelt down. NG smiles and ruffles Shoto's hair. Once more, I'm sure you'll be, son. 𝐭 then answers, it's okay to be what you want to be. As long as we know that your choice is okay, we'll support you. Shoto smiles and nods. I'll make Mom and Dad proud. I'll also do my best to be Izu's hero. I'm sure you will. They both smiled. A year had passed ever since Shoto and Izuku met. They frequently visit each other at the park at weekends. But on weekdays, all they could either call at the phone or by video chat. The two of them could still feel each other's emotions and presence. Their parents explained about the mark, which they can understand. All they know was that they are now close with each other. But the parents knew that the mark meant something more, but they're too young to understand. A new school year has started. Even if Izuku met Shoto, and it was the greatest gift he had ever received, Kaken was still there, calling him names and telling him to stay away. Izuku, dear. His mother knocks on the door. Come in, Mom. 𝐭 came in with some notebooks and writing materials. She gave them to his son, who carefully kept them inside his bag. 𝐭 observed his son's actions. Izuku kept on caressing his mark with glee The child may not truly understand the meaning behind it. 𝐭𝐽𝐻 is just happy that his son has another friend who is kind to him. But she quickly became worried if 𝐒𝐻𝐽𝐻𝐿 so-called 𝐒𝐭𝐚𝐲 would torment the poor child once more. Izuku must have noticed the sudden change of his mother's expression, and quickly held his mother's hand. "Mom, are you okay? Do you feel sad again? Have I done something bad?" 𝐭𝐽𝐻 smiles back. "He's the only one. I have nothing, Izuku. I was just thinking about your mark. Don't worry, it's not a bad thing." Izuku quickly sat beside his mother by the bed. "Son, can you hide your mark from others? Why, Shokin might be sad if I hid it." Izuku held his wrist. "I know, but I'm sure Shoto-kun will understand." Izuku looks away. He wasn't sure about this. But it's his mother. He would always respect and follow her decisions. "I just want to protect you." Izuku. "Bakugo-kun might do something when he sees that Mark Kaken was just playing around. Mom, he would never hurt me." 𝗵𝗃 could only sigh. She could see many evident bruises of his son's skin. When he would always come home, she knew that it came from Kaken. But Izuku would always deny it. There were times he would be able to hide it, there were times he can't. But if that's what Mom wants, I'll hide it. Izuku smiles. "Thank you, sweetie." Izuku hugs his mother. 𝗵𝗃 secretly showed a sad smile. But Izuku hugs her even more. "You'll always be my #1 hero." It hurt 𝗵𝗃 when she hears those words. Higher than All Might. They both separate from the hug. "He's so cool, but you're the best in the whole wide world." 𝗵𝗃 could only smile for his son. It hurts every inch of her, but she would do whatever it takes to protect her son. "DDO, you really want to go to school, Izuku?" 𝗵𝗃 asks. As they were walking toward school, Izuku silently nods without saying a word. Soon they arrived at Izuku's elementary school. She didn't want to let go of her son. But she doesn't want to go against Izuku's decision. She kneels down and said, "Be good in school, okay?" Izuku nods. "Remember what we promised, have fun." "I will." Izuku kissed his mom's cheek and ran toward the entrance. After the entrance ceremony, Izuku went to his assigned classroom and picked the window seat at the last row. He avoids any eye contact to the others, especially since they know Izuku's predicament. Others just stare at him with pity, but majority with disdain and disgust. They knew that quirks are a thing to be accepted in society. Even if the government prepared many programs for people with weak quirks or quirkless, there are those who still discriminate the quirkless population. Unfortunately, Izuku is one of those. Izuku chose to ignore them and took his notebook. He doodled a drawing of All Might in his notebook and reread some of the early notes he did for the heroes. He ignored the fact that a certain blonde slowly crept up to Izuku. "Oi, shitty Deku." Izuku flinched and looked at the blonde. "Kaken, good morning." Izuku tried to calm down, but failed miserably. "Never thought I get to see your shitty face in the same classroom." Before Izuku could answer, Bakugo slammed his hand on Izuku's desk, glaring at the shorter boy. "Just stay the fuck out of my way, shit nerd." Bakugo quickly walks away. When they all heard the teacher arriving, Izuku kept his notebook and didn't waver any eye contact to his fellow classmates. The teacher and students both exchanged greetings. The teacher proceeded with roll calls and Izuku answered. When his name was called, "Oh, there is also one who will be joining us. I almost forgot that. Sorry, I'm late, sensei." Outside the classroom was a boy standing. Izuku's eyes widens when he saw who that boy was. Shokin. Izuku suddenly stands up and waves his hand towards Shoto. Shoto gave a smile and also waved back at Izuku. The other class could only stare at them with shock, especially towards Izuku. No one had thought of seeing the boy to be brightly happy, but a certain blonde ease already glaring daggers at the latecomer. Shoto then gave a folded paper which the teacher read. "I see. Well, seeing as being late isn't your fault. I hope it won't ever happen again." "All right, yes, sensei." The teacher then points at the seat beside Izuku. "Take a seat beside Midoriya-kun there." Shoto nods and quickly went to his chair. But the small smile on his face is still visible, especially since he is beside Izuku. "Hi, Shokin." Izuku whispers, "Hello to you too." Izuku class began with the two of them in the brightest moods. Class ended quickly. That what they anticipated. Somehow no one dared to even tease him. Izuku also observed that others are inviting him to eat with them. But Shoto's answer is always no thanks. I'd rather eat with Izu. The others wanted to say something but merely shrugged and walks away. They might not say something, but Izuku knows what they are thinking right now. Izuku is currently waiting for Shoto at the entrance of their school. Shoto stayed in the classroom since he is one of the assigned students in charge of cleaning. Even if Shoto told him to go ahead without him, Izuku insisted that he wants to wait for Shoto since both of them will be picked up by their mothers in a few minutes. He looked at his left wrist, which was covered by a wristband of the same color of Shoto's hair, red with white. Shoto also had one in his wrist, which was green in color. Hey, it's Deku. Oh no, he looked and saw 3 boys who were taller than him. They were not Bakugo's friends, but they did worse than Bakugo. Izuku was about to walk away, but they quickly grabbed his arms. The leader grabbed his bag and messed the contents of his bag. Long time no see, quirkless freak. Never thought that we get to see your face in this school. The leader threw the bag at Izuku's torso. The impact was a bit strong, which caused Izuku to grunt in pain. Has weak. Never thought y'all get hurt so easily. Izuku bit his lip hard to not let out any sound that he's in pain. The leader, however, took note of this and was pissed. Let's see how smug you are when we punch you. Even Mo, the leader, and his other friends didn't get to move when they noticed something cold in their legs. They looked down and saw ice slowly covering them. What are you doing with Izu? Izuku could only cry in relief when he saw Shoto by the entrance, his right hand a bit frozen. But the trail of ice came first from his right leg. His eyes widened when he noticed Izuku in pain. His eyes flashed anger, and he lets his ice slowly covering them. Let him go gently, or else the bullies could only comply, letting Izuku go from their deadly grasp. Shoto quickly ran up to him and kneeled down. Izu, are you okay? Izuku nods, trying to hide the pain from his stomach. Shoto, however, noticed it. AMD glared at the other boys. The ice around them started to spread to the boys, and Shoto's right side started to frost, and his left beginning to smoke. 𝗧𝗵𝗲, please calm down. Izuku stood up and held Shoto's own cold hand. He didn't mind, but he didn't like the look. Shoto has 𝗧𝗵𝗲, please stop, you're going to hurt them. Izuku begs Shoto, then took a glance at Izuku, his eyes beginning to have tears. Shoto's eyes widens. He grasps Izuku's own hand and calms down. The minute Shoto became calm, they both went near the bullies. He put his left palm by the ice, and in an instant began to melt. Before they left, Shoto looks back, hurt him, and y'all face me. They left the fear-stricken bullies. 𝗧𝗵𝗲, you big meanie, Izuku wails as he softly punches Shoto's back. Shoto carried him in a piggyback ride, insisting that Izuku is hurt and needs attention. I did what I need to do as your friend. You could get expelled. I'm not using my quirk during class, though, but still you could have hurt them. They did mean things to Izu. They deserve it. 𝗧𝗵𝗲, don't worry, my dad can fix this in case of emergencies. Izuku could only sigh and bury his face at Shoto's back. But I may get separated from you. Shoto looks back at Izuku, a blush creeping out of his cheek. I'm not going anywhere. I made a promise to protect Izu from now on. But fail. I don't care. You said you don't want me to be apart from you. Then I want to protect you. Shoto smiles. When he saw Izuku smiling a bit, there were pink tints in both their cheeks, but chose to ignore it. 𝗧𝗵𝗲, Izuku began. What's with your quirk? You have ice on your right, but there is smoke in your melt. Shoto was silent. You also melted your ice. I was just wondering. Shoto didn't answer. Izuku took notice of Shoto's silence. Ooh, I am sorry. I didn't mean to ask. Shoto looks back at Izuku. There was fear and sadness evident on it. But Shoto answers, it's a scary memory, but you're my friend. And I know, but I trust Izu. They then stopped at the spot where both their parents would promise to pick them up, the park where they first met. They sat by the shade as Izuku noticed Shoto touching his scar eye. I was 5 that time. I was sick with a fever. My dad was at work, and my mom and sister left to buy some medicine. They told me not to open the door to strangers, which I did. Shoto went silent for a bit, then continued, I heard the lock and the door being opened. I thought it was either my mom and my sister or my dad, but I saw a man wearing black with a knife on his hand. 𝗧𝗵𝗲, Izuku replies, you can stop if you want, but Shoto continues, I followed him secretly until he went in the kitchen, but phone suddenly rang. He got scared, then he held something in his hand. Then the last thing I felt was that hot liquid in my eye. Izuku's eyes widens and proceeds to hug Shoto. The dual-colored boy suddenly cries and hugs Izuku back. I'm scared of my left side. I'm scared of it. It hurts. I don't want to feel that. 𝗧𝗵𝗲, Izuku then went out of the hug and looked directly at Shoto. He wipes the tears away from the taller boy. Izuku knew that Shoto wouldn't calm down in any minute. A thought came out of his mind. Izuku caresses the scar, to which Shoto flinches. He slowly went near and kissed the scar. Shoto blushes. Mom told me that kissing it can make you feel better. I want you to feel better. So Shoto slowly smiles, releasing a soft chuckle. Thank you, Izu, where we get to see Izuku's quirk. Shoto would always consider his friend Izu before anything else. He didn't know why, but meeting the green-haired boy made Shoto's life more interesting than ever. He heard the boy crying and Shoto got curious. It was just a spur in the moment that Shoto helped the boy. But when they touched hands, he knew he felt something. Shoto wasn't ignorant. Even as a child, after that horrid incident, he became observant and knowledgeable with his surroundings. If it was the feeling when they touched hands, Shoto felt Izuku's fear and sadness. He felt a secret deep within him. But what disturbed him was the voices he heard from Izuku's head. He felt every emotion, and of course it may be one of his hidden nightmares. That's why he felt the need to protect him. Inko once told him that he had to hide his mark. She said that it could protect Izuku. He's curious. But for now, protecting Izuku is his priority. Dad. Shoto calls the attention of Enji, who is reading something in the newspaper. Enji sets the newspaper down. Yes, Shoto, teach me how to use my quirk. Enji's eyes widens. Yukio heard the conversation and decides to join in. Son, I know that your quirk is powerful, but we're not sure if you can handle it. Yet I was planning on training you when you reach 10. Shoto, you're only 7 years old. Shoto looks directly at his dad. I know, but last week, I used my quirk at the bullies at school. My ice quirk. Shoto. Yukio exclaims, you know that is not allowed. It was after class, Mom. They were hurting Izu. I don't want that. I used my ice quirk. But I'm still afraid of my other side. Enji and Yukio looked at each other. Shoto then continues, I want to be a hero like Dad and All Might. But how can I be when I can't protect the person I care about? Shoto looks at both of them. The look of fiery determination is present in his eyes. Dad, teach me how to properly fight. I can only use my left side for melting the ice. I also want Mom to teach me on how I can use my ice quirk. I'm not sure. Shoto. Yukio interjects, please. I want to become stronger. Yukio and Enji looked at each other once more. They knew that Shoto is still young, but the look Shoto has can't make them deny the child to his wishes. Fine. Enji sighs as he ruffles Shoto's hair. We're not going to stop you from doing so, but we're going to take it slow. I'll teach you basic combat training, while your mother would teach you about your ice quirk. Shoto smiles. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Your training, Shouken? Izuku asks as he took a bite of his snack. Yes, I asked Mom and Dad to train me. So far I'm getting the hang of using my ice quirk. Dad is even kind enough to teach me how to defend myself. And you as well. Izuku smiles, as long as Shouken takes it easy. It's both your quirk, right? I know you can handle it. Thanks, Izu. The two of them sat together at the cafeteria. They ignored the others who kept on pestering Shoto about joining them, since everyone found out that Shoto is a smart boy. Plus, he has a powerful quirk. Many wanted to befriend him. However, the dual-colored boy was not blind to notice people who are looking at him for his prowess, and not who he truly is. Only Izu is enough for me. Some people in here can be mean. Shoto whispered out of Izuku's earshot. By the way, next year is your birthday, right? Shoto nods. Then you'll also be presented. Shoto knew that by the child's 8th birthday, they would be presented. I know that Shouken will be an alpha. He's strong and cool. Izuku beams. Unlike me, though I might be a beta, it's been in my family for how many years? Shoto sighs and caresses Izu's hand for comfort. Izu is still Izu. Nothing will change. It's because I like Izu. I like Shouken too. Shoto's world brightens even more when Izuku smiles. I'll definitely protect you. They were disturbed from their own world when a loud bang was heard from their table. Both of them turned and saw Bakugo with smoke in his palms. He is glaring daggers at the two, especially in Shoto's presence. Hey, Haffy, you come with me right now before I blow you up. Bakugo growls. What if I don't want to, especially since I don't want to leave Izu alone? Shoto retorts, earning a pissed-off glare at the blonde. Just fucking come with me. Got him. It Keikaken language. Shut up, Deku. Shoto was about to decline the overly exploding blonde, but Izuku urges him to go. Izu, are you sure? Shoto asks, not sure if Izuku was really urging him to go with it. It's not a good idea to make cake and maid even more. It seems like he wants to talk to you. I'll be fine, don't worry about me. Shoto was about to answer, But Bakugo grabs his hand and drags the dual-colored child away. "Don't follow us, Deku, or else," Bakugo shouted through the distance. The two of them went to a secluded area. By their school's rooftop. Shoto came out first before Bakugo. The dual-colored child stared at the blonde with confusion, and at the same time doubt. "What do you want, Bakugo?" "Not unless you're planning on something." Before Bakugo could reply, he shot an explosion at Shoto's direction. Shoto, however, calmly let enough ice rise up to block the attack. Bakugo jumps away when ice was almost near him. As expected, you're strong. Shoto glares at the blonde as he proceeds to melt the ice he made. "I don't want to get in trouble just because of you. I'll go down now. If that's what you only need me for." Shoto walks away, but Bakugo blocks his path. 𝗧𝗍𝗧𝗏, there is something off with you." Shoto's face remained blank. "What would that be then, Bakugo? You're with Deku all the time. I didn't even know that he already met you, so what are you to him?" Shoto kept calm and answered, "He is someone I care about, a friend." "Is there any meaning behind this?" Bakugo clicks his tongue and walks away. "No reason. I'm just warning you that 𝗧𝗵𝗏 you're hanging out with, he is nothing but a weak crybaby. He can't do anything." Shoto glares at the blonde. "You're nothing but a bully, Bakugo, so I'm saying the truth. He's just a Deku. Nothing will change." Shoto took every ounce of will not to activate his ice quirk, which he finally got the hand of basic defense and attack. As much as Shoto wants to just freeze him, he values his moral conduct. And of course he didn't want to see Izu mad with him. "I'll be going then," Shoto said as he walks away. But he pauses and looks back at Bakugo. "Someday, I know that Izu will prove you wrong. Not everyone is weak." He left Bakugo alone while Shoto is trapped in his own thoughts. While going down the stairs, he removed his wristband and stared at the mark he received from Izuku. He found a book about marks and found out details about it. Izuku was his soulmate. He knew that Izuku would be his beloved when they grow up in the future. Shoto already accepts it. He accepts it with all his heart. But Izuku seems to not yet understand the mark behind it. He made a promise to 𝐭𝐽 not to tell the meaning of it. His father then told him that the soulmate mark has the symbol of their quirk. If his soulmate was quirkless, all he would have received was a red string around his wrist. That red string would connect to that person if they met at the future. But he has the symbol of angel wings, and Shoto knew that it belonged to Izuku. He knew that Izuku is strong, but he felt that he's hiding something from him. Judging from the way he once talked to 𝐭𝐽, he knew that 𝐭𝐽 told his son to hide it. Soon he'll find it out. But for now, he'll stay by Izuku's side when the right time comes. And if they were to be presented, what he's feeling right now will never change. He'll wait for Izuku to tell him that Shoto will be waiting. Aizawa had a very bad day. He's bleeding badly in an alley where no one can even see him. The wound by his side was too serious, and it was hell enough if he moved just 1 inch. Planned attacks. 𝗧𝗵𝗲. He chuckles, watching as the pain was getting unbearable. His eyes were getting heavy, but deep inside him shouts that he should stay awake until someone helps him. But how? They broke his phone, and he has no ways of contacting him. He was about to close his eyes when there was nothing anymore to do. But he heard a soft chime of bells within his earshot. He slowly opens his eyes and saw a bright light of gold. Aizawa noticed someone by the light. He was sure that he saw a person, but behind him was a pair of large white wings glowing gold. The sounds it was making was soft and melodic bells making tunes and a fine melody. It was able to calm Aizawa down, ignoring the pain by his side. Then Aizawa noticed the 2 wings being folded toward the person, then spread out once more. He saw one feather glowing gold. It was floating towards him. The feather touched Aizawa, and he felt something. His energy is replenishing. His wound began to heal. There was no more pain, and he was able to fully open his eyes. The golden light disappeared, and so as the soft melody, Aizawa slowly stood up and observed his body. He noticed that the wound in his side is gone, and so is the trail of blood. The only thing reminding him of the wound was the tear in his shirt. Whoever did this is either powerful, kind, or stupid, or all of the choices. He thought before he could even leave. He saw a boy with green hair unconscious on the floor. Aizawa quickly ran to his aid and carried the boy by his arms. He noticed that the child is also experiencing a nosebleed. Without any hesitation, he rushed out of the alley and carried the boy to the nearest hospital. "I really overdid it, huh?" Izuku groans. He slowly opens his eyes and saw white around the room. He notices the surroundings around him. Izuku is lying in a bed. He noticed by the table beside him are tissues that had a few drops of blood. What made him stare a bit was an elderly woman sitting by the chair in front of him. She was doing some paperwork. But she looked at Izuku's direction and smiled. Glad to see that you're awake, child. Izuku recognizes her. Wait, your recovery girl. Recovery girl chuckles. I am, child. But still, it took a lot of stamina for you to heal. Aizawa impressed. Izuku then remembers Is he alright? He's beyond alright. Midoriya-kun, luckily for him, all the wounds in his body are healed. But you, on the other hand, collapsed due to exhaustion. She then points at his body. I just healed you with a bit of stamina left in your body. You've been asleep for 3 hours, oh no. Izuku explained, shocking, and Mom will be mad. Don't worry. Another person entered the room. It was Aizawa. I'll take you home. Eraser head. It's okay. I can go home by myself. I'm responsible for now about your safety. It's reckless that you went to that kind of place. But I'm grateful for what you did. It was still reckless though. Also just call me Aizawa. I don't like any attention when I take you home. Oh, Izuku looks down by his hands. Also I think you saw my quirk. Right, see, can you please not tell anyone? I made a promise to someone about not using it. But you used it, Midoriya-kun, Chiyo pointed out. I know, I just broke it. Aizawa and Chiyo didn't pry about it anymore. Aizawa sighs. Alright, Emmy taking you home. I'll just say that I saw you collapse, or something. Thank you, Aizawa-san. I'm sorry for the trouble. It's fine. Aizawa assisted Izuku to get out of the bed. After saying thanks to Chiyo, they immediately left the infirmary. Chiyo proceeds to look back at the papers she had in her hands. The words of Izuku made her wonder about his predicament. Even more, Midoriya Izuku is listed as quirkless. Interesting. Izuku. And Aizawa looked at the boy running in the distance. They saw Shoto along with Yukio and Inko running toward them. Shoto got there first and catches his breath. Then he said with a voice filled with worry, where were you when I got from the store with Mom? You weren't there with us. Auntie Inko was worried. I'm sorry. Shocking. Shoto sighs and hugs the green-haired child. It's okay, and you're here now, Izuku. Inko immediately hugs his son. Don't do that again, Izuku. I was scared to death. I'm sorry, Mom. Izuku bows his head. Inko smiles and caresses Izuku's cheek. The important thing is that you're here safe and sound. Aizawa then recognizes Inko. He's your son. Inko then looks up and saw a familiar face of her teenage years. Aizawa-kun. Long time no see. It's been a while. But thank you for finding my son. It's fine, Inko. He almost collapsed when I happened to bump into him. I just took him to a friend of mine for a checkup. It was just heat exhaustion. Oh, but still thank you, Aizawa-kun. Inko bows. No need to thank me. I just did the right thing. Yukio then said, you know each other. Inko-san. Shoto then grabs the attention of Izuku, who was listening to the conversation of adults. Izuku turns and saw the look of worry in Shoto's face. Shocking. Are you okay, Izu? From what that man said, you collapsed. Izuku chuckles, waving his hands dismissively. I'm fine. I'm just sickly when the wrong timing strikes. I see, Shoto said. I better work hard again to protect you. Shocking. It's fine. Nope. Izuku sighs. At least I helped someone though. Sorry, Shocking. But you'll find out someday. It was another day of school when Izuku noticed something off. Shoto arrived on time, but had a red tint on his cheek. His eyes seemed droopy as well. The green-haired child ran toward his friend. Shocking. Good morning, Izuku greets. With a smile, Shoto smiles back. Gee, good morning, Izu. He then coughs a bit loudly, which causes Izuku to worry. Shocking. Are you okay? Yeah, I just have a mild cough. Nothing to worry about. Izuku wasn't convinced. He then used both of his hands and placed it on Shoto's forehead. His eyes widens. Shocking. You're both burning and cold. I'll be fine, Izu. Shocking. Shoto woke up feeling weak and with a massive headache. Though he felt a blanket in his body and lying down on a soft mattress, he noticed that everything around him is white. He slowly sat up and observed his surroundings. In the infirmary. How did I get here? Todoroki-kun. I see that you're awake. Shoto then saw their school nurse walk toward him. You have a high fever right now. Luckily, a classmate of yours managed to get some help and carry you here. Roman 2C. His voices was hoarse. Thank you, sensei. The nurse chuckles. It's not only me who you should be thanking. They heard the infirmary door being opened. Shoto's eyes widened at the realization Izuku is standing there with a worried look. In his hands were 2 lunchboxes and some drinks. Shocking. He walks toward the bed. Are you okay? Roman 2 brought lunch and water. You might be hungry. And you also need it for medicine. So I brought yours and mine, so we can eat together too. I also made sure that I copied notes, so you can borrow them. Shoto puts a finger in Izuku's lips. It's all right, thank you very much, Izu. I appreciated it all. The nurse then clears her throat. Since your friend is here, Todoroki-kun, I can leave you 2 alone. I'll just handle some work. You can eat your lunch peacefully. Thank you, sensei, they both said in unison. The nurse nods and took her leave. The 2 boys were now alone. Izuku sets the lunchboxes by the bed and grabs the nearest chair. There is. Izuku sits up and opens Shoto's lunchbox. He then grabs the spoon and proceeds to feed the dual-colored child. Wait, I can handle it, Izu. But you're sick. I don't want you to pressure yourself. Shoto sighs and pinches Izuku's cheeks. You should eat first. I can handle myself. I want to eat together with Izu, please. Izuku pouts. I want to feed Shokin. But since you're sick, finish. Shoto smiles. Good. He grabs his lunchbox as Izuku grabbed his. They both ate their lunch in peace. Shoto proceeds to just observe Izuku, who is munching on his food. Hey Izu, Shoto began after drinking water. What do you think of love? Izuku looks at him. Why do you ask? Shokin. Well, I always saw my mom and dad showing love, like maybe kissing and hugging. They said that's the reason I was born, because they love each other. Well, mom said that I'm still too young to know it. But if I think about love, it's like Shokin. Shoto almost dropped his lunchbox. Shokin is nice. He never hurts me. He is always beside me. And he always said that he'll protect me. Even if I'm okay, he's smart, he's kind somehow, maybe like love. That's how I see about love. Shoto smiles, being happy right now. He wants to hug the cute, innocent creature in front of him. But since he's sick, he'll just have to wait till he gets better. Izu is cute. Izuku blushes. Shoto chuckles and pinches Izuku's cheek. Shoto then finishes his lunch, which Izuku gladly took. It put in the table. The dual-colored child then lies down in his bed gazing at Izuku. I don't want to sleep, though I want to spend time with Izu. Auntie Yukio will pick you up later. Shokin. Plus, the nurse said that you should get some rest. Class will start soon too. But I also don't want to leave Shokin alone. Shoto slowly held his hand. Stay until I fall asleep. Izuku nods. Okay, with a content sigh. Shoto fell asleep. What's that tune? It's so soft, beautiful. Shoto tried to open his eyes, but was a bit blinded by the golden light. But he immediately calms down when he hears those soft chimes. Bright. But he could see a pair of large wings in his view, white and beautiful. Shoto wanted to fully open his eyes, but fatigue took onto him before he could close his eyes. He saw that beautiful winged creature kiss its wings and one beautiful feather floating towards him. Shoto felt someone gently shaking him from his sleep. He slowly opens his eyes and saw his mother staring at him with worried eyes. Shoto, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Shoto was about to sleep again. When he noticed something off, he quickly sat up and touched his neck. He tried speaking and noticed that his voice isn't hoarse anymore. The headache is gone, and so is his urge to cough violently. Shoto, take it easy. Yukio tries to calm the boy down. The nurse said that you had a fever a few hours ago. But when she checked your temperature, the moment I got here, you're all better. Seeing your reaction too, I can see that you're bewildered as us. Shoto stares at Yukio. I don't know, Mom. Oh, it's about time we go home. The nurse also asked me to take Izuku-kun home to Izu. Well, she points at the nurse's table and saw their nurse tending on Izuku. The green-haired child was holding a tissue on his nose. The nurse found him near the restroom with a nosebleed. We didn't know why, but maybe it was just the heat, or he didn't feel good. Yukio sighs. I called in Kasan about it and told her that I'll take you both home. Is Izu okay? Shoto asks, feeling both worry and concern. It's all right, Shoto. The bleeding stopped, and he's already feeling better. He sighs in relief. Then he heard Izuku running toward him. Shoto clicked his tongue. The moment Izuku was beside him, he took the moment to hug the smaller boy in his arms. Don't scare me like that, the one who is sick, not you. Sorry, Shokin. He went out of the hug and squeezed Izuku's face. You're okay, right? No headaches, pains, or anything? Izuku nods. Good. He flicked his fingers at Izuku's forehead. Oh, then proceeds to hug him again. "I'm glad you're okay." Yukio watches the scene in front of her in awe. It's not every day she gets to see her son clingy and worried. It's almost time that you two are presented. I hope that y'all never waver when the time comes. Before they could finish hugging, Yukio silently took his phone and took a photo of the two of them. Shall send it to Inko and may show it to his husband if ever needed to calm down. Izuku stares at the computer in both awe and fear. By the screen is something that a child couldn't even handle to watch. But Izuku kept every detail there is at the fight right in front of him. Someone was live in the social media and recorded every bits of the scene itself. It was his favorite hero, All Might, fighting the monster right in front of him. Not only that, 𝗵𝗃 was also there teaming up with All Might. The city surrounding it was ablaze, caused by one of the villains. The scene was horrid, many civilians screaming out of fear. But one thing changed, one thing that made the horrific scene fill with hope: All Might's smile and 𝗵𝗃's roar of flames. They were still ready to fight. Izuku watched in awe as they both fought the monster in front of them. From what Izuku has observed, the monster had multiple quirks. But it was not the only thing that he noticed. He observed 𝗵𝗃 fighting Izuku, saw some similarities between the man he knew and the hero in front of him. Then he realized that 𝗵𝗃 was Shoto's dad. He once saw 𝗓𝗓 use his flames, and it all came clear. 𝗵𝗃 is Shoto's dad, 𝗵𝗃 is Todoroki 𝗓𝗓. But he saw both All Might and 𝗵𝗃 completely wounded and bloody. But they kept on fighting just to destroy the monster in front of them. They won. The monster was destroyed. But at what cost? Before the video was cut off, he saw both 𝗓𝗓 bloodied and collapsed on the floor, as All Might held onto his stomach and collapsed too. Izuku could only imagine the pain they are in right now, two great heroes wounded in an epic yet horrific battle. Then he remembers Shoto, the look on his face if he sees his dad wounded. From what he could see, their wounds were bad. Izuku imagines Shoto's horrific face when he sees his dad. Then All Might, the hero and symbol of peace, wounded. They might see him as a weak person. Izuku didn't want that both heroes to suffer the consequences, and for Shoto to ever see his dad in that condition. With a strong resolve, he locked the door in his room and opens the window. He is forbidden to do so. But it's his quirk and decision. He knew what would happen, and he knew the limits. He can't have it. He can't have Shoto crying. It wasn't hard for Izuku to sneak inside the hospital without being seen. Right now, he's acting like a normal person, just walking around the hospital. He was looking for both All Might and Shoto's father. It was then easy when he heard the voices of both Yukio and Shoto along with Shoto's sister. Izuku hid by the far corner, but stayed within earshot. He was able to hear what they were saying. He didn't know why, but he could feel Shoto's distress. Right now he had the urge to send a comfort signal for him. But Izuku was afraid that he might be seen. As he took a peek, he saw Yukio, who tried her very best to be calm. But Shoto had it worst. There were tears in his eyes, and he was clinging onto his mother. "Your husband might not make it," the doctor briefly said. Yukio's eyes widens even more. She heard that his husband is in serious condition. They were able to take both of them, but still she wondered why it was very grave. "Why, I thought you took them on time." "I thought, Mom, what is the doctor saying?" Shoto tries to ask. He was desperate for answers, desperate to know if his father will be all right. Shoto turns to the doctor. "Sensei, will Dad be all right?" The doctor bows down. "I'm sorry, your husband suffered from internal bleeding. He may have not noticed, but one of his ribs punctured his lung. If we were to do surgery, it might get worse." Yukio cried even more. Shoto's sister Mayumi hugged her mother as she too cried. Shoto tried to process the words he heard. He couldn't understand some of it, but he knew what it meant. "Dad will die. I'm sorry, but this is what we can do for now. Not even our best quirk users can find a solution to it. All you can do is spend time with him before it's too late." Izuku didn't listen to it anymore. He ran away to the nearest window, leaving the Todoroki family to cry in their sorrow. Shoto wanted to cry. The thought of losing his dad would hurt him too much. He wanted to. But as his tears began to fall, he felt something deep inside of him. It was reaching to him for comfort. He knew where it went. Shoto ran away from his mother and sister and followed that feeling. He felt a strong gust of wind from the direction he was running to. He reached an open window, looked out, and found no one, but he knew someone was there reaching out to him. He then looked at his right and his eyes widens. It was a feather, the feather that he saw when he was sick. I thought that it was just a dream. He couldn't remember every bit of it. But he knew that he saw that beautiful feather floating towards him. He took it and held it in his chest. The feeling was similar to the one that was reaching out to him. Are you trying to say that I shouldn't give up? He looks out of the window. He could only pray and hope for a miracle. Beep, beep, beep. The sound of the heart monitor echoed throughout the room. The sound of the man breathing heavily joined together. Izuku sees it, the man that he now calls Uncle Todoroki Enji. He is Shoto's father, and also the number 2 hero endeavor. Seeing Enji right now made Izuku's heart clench. How he saw Yukio cry 𝗵𝗲 trying to comfort their mother, who is also crying, and Shoto when he understood what they meant. Izuku's heart clenched when he saw the look in Shoto's face. It was the same when he told Izuku of his scar. But it was worse. His beloved dad is at the verge of dying. Izuku didn't want Shoto to feel his pain. He never knew his father. He never saw him. Izuku never felt what a love of a father can do. Now Shoto would also feel it. Add that nostalgic and melancholic feeling if his father were to die right now. Izuku went near the bed and observed Enji. Even more, he needs to heal the father of his beloved. He would never let Shoto be sad like him. He would have Shoto stay in a complete family. Izuku closes his eyes and lets out his quirk. A pair of large, beautiful white wings appeared on his back. It hung on Izuku's back, waiting for flight, or for it to be used. He closed his eyes and lets his wings glow that beautiful golden color. His wings spreads out as the same soft chimes started playing. Izuku opens his eyes and saw the pained look of Enji. With his unwavering resolve, he folded one of his wings onto his lips, giving it a soft kiss. He spreads it out once more as 2 feathers separates from the wings. The first feather stayed on Izuku's palm, but the glow of gold is still present. The other floated towards Enji, and it landed on his chest. It glowed again along with Enji's body. The feather disappeared. Izuku immediately went out of the window and flew away before anyone could see him. It was nighttime and dark outside. His wings weren't glowing anymore. No one would notice him for now, so he moves fast. He flew up onto the upper floor from Enji's window. Izuku could feel himself on the verge of losing consciousness. Plus, he could taste metal by his lips. He ignored the pain and held onto the feather by his chest. He then opens the window and enters. The room was dark, and there were no lights, but Izuku could see All Might awake, but in pain. The form he has is skinny, and not the proud form he had as a hero. He took the hood of his jacket and covered his whole face. All Might, he calls out. Toshinori knew that he would be at his limit right now. The monster punched him with every ounce of strength he had. Even if Enji was there to help him, it still stood firmly onto the ground. But when the fight ended, he knew that his limit would start right now. Not only that, he found out that Enji is in critical condition. He felt guilty that he dragged the man who already has a family. Toshinori doesn't know what he'll do if he ever finds out that Enji will die, leaving his family to weep and cry. They would eventually move on, but he was worried at the youngest Todoroki here. He was with a fatal injury, and his comrade in a life-threatening situation. All Might. Toshinori flinched when he heard a voice. He looks onto the window and saw a hooded figure. A child. Toshinori thoughts. He then felt scared. Kid, what are you doing here? Toshinori asks, trying to calm down since the child saw him in his weakest form. I just came here to see you. I heard what happened, and I felt concerned and worried. I'm a fan. But don't worry though, your secret is safe with me. Toshinori sighs and smiles. I appreciate your concern, boy. But you have to go home now. Your parents might be looking for you. The boy didn't answer. Toshinori bitterly chuckles. It's sad, isn't it, kid? I may have disappointed you after seeing me in this pathetic form. You're still my favorite hero, All Might. Nothing will change. Toshinori might not see the boy's face, but he could see the soft smile. All Might is cool and brave. He's still a hero. Toshinori's eyes widens. Then all of a sudden Toshinori saw 2 beautiful white wings by the boy's back. As they began to glow gold, it was bright, but it was beautiful. The soft chimes of melody was able to soothe his soul. Then he saw it beneath the boy's hood were green emerald orbs, a speck of green hair, freckles, and a beautiful smile. The feather in the boy's palm glowed, and it floated toward Toshinori. It landed on the man's chest, and everything around him glowed brightly. Toshinori shuts his eyes. When he opens them again, the boy was nowhere to be seen. But then he felt stronger, like what he was before. His phone and a mirror by the drawer. He lightens his phone and saw through the reflection of the mirror were bandages. He sets aside the mirror and slowly unwraps it. His eyes widened. His injury is gone. Inko saw the news with complete worry and horror. She knew that 𝗵𝗃𝗏 is Shoto's father, but the news of 𝗵𝗃𝗏 and All Might in a hospital spread like wildfire. According to the news, there was massive destruction due to the villain's quirk. But thanks to the both of them, they were able to save the civilians and subdue the villain. Right now she was talking to Yukio, who seemed to calm down. 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 very severe. He might not make it. 𝐒𝐭𝐚𝐲 felt sympathetic for the white-haired woman. It's true that raising a child, let alone children, can be very difficult, especially if it's from the loss of your beloved. Just have faith in your husband. You may not know that a miracle might happen. I guess anyways. How's Shoto-kun and 𝗵𝗲𝗄 doing? Not good. They seem distraught by the news. I just don't know what he'll do if I lose him. Shoto has the speck of his father. His left side would only make me remember him. 𝐒𝐭𝐚𝐲 scolds, dropping the honorifics. Don't jump into conclusions. And don't say that to your son. I know that you're a mess right now. But don't drag your children there. It would get worse. 𝗏𝐭 could hear the choked sobs from the other line. I am sorry. I know, but please, for your husband and children, calm down. Then 𝗏𝐭 heard the voice of Shoto from the background along with his sister. They were frantic, and at the same time happy from the tone of their voice. 𝗬𝐭, is everything all right? 𝗬𝐭 then answers, Roman 2 don't know. Shoto and 𝗵𝗲𝗄 said that NG is okay. They also said that he's awake. Then go to him, check it for yourself. Thank you 𝗏𝐭-san, I'll talk to you later. The call ended as 𝗏𝐭 sets the phone down. She sighs in relief and prayed that the Todoroki family would be all right. She then proceeds to his son's room, excited to tell her son that NG might make it. She knocks on the door. Izuku, I have something to tell you. There was no response. It's about Shoto-kun's father. I was wondering if you also want to visit again. There was nothing. 𝗏𝐭 proceeded to turn the door knob, only to find out that it was locked. She panicked a bit. Izuku, there was no response. She then went to her room and got one of the spare keys. She got back and opened the locked door. She drops the keys and her eyes widen. Same room, same thing, same bed. But lying by the floor is her son. There was blood in his lips and nose, and he was breathing heavily. 𝗏𝐭 rushes for the phone and calls the emergency services. Hello, yes, I'm Midoriya 𝗏𝐭, and I live in. Please hurry, my son is unconscious and bleeding. I just found it out. Please hurry. Shoto woke up suddenly when he felt something off. He is currently on a chair by his father's hospital room. It was a few hours ago when Shoto decided to check his father, only to see that he's finally awake. Shoto called his mother and sister along with the doctor to check up on him. But they were all bewildered when they asked the question, and to what NG answered to them, I feel fine, tired but fine. I don't feel any pain from what you said. The doctors quickly took him to the X-ray room. After a few tests, they found out that his ribs were all back to its original position, and his lungs weren't punctured anymore. Everyone was shocked by the discovery. Of course, no one would even thought that kind of injury would heal in a short amount of time. But the entire Todoroki family could only feel happiness and relief. They wanted to thank the one who made the miracle that seems impossible. The doctor advised that NG should stay for a few days for observation, even if the injury suddenly healed. They just wanted to make sure that there weren't any complications. Her mother and 𝗵𝗲𝗄 decided to go home and get some stuff for themselves and for NG. Shoto volunteered to stay at his father's side. Right now, he woke up suddenly with a gut feeling that something's wrong. Shoto noticed that the sky outside is starting to get bright. He then felt his father stirring from his sleep. Shoto quickly ran toward him. NG's eyes slowly opens. He looks at his side and saw Shoto. As Shoto, he calls out with a hoarse voice, You're still here? Where's your mother and sister? They went home to get some stuff. I told them that I would stay. Shoto then proceeds to hug his father. I was scared. They said that you won't make it. NG sighs in relief. He then returns the hug and ruffles Shoto's hair. But in here, and the doctor says that I will be fine. Your dad's a stubborn old man. I won't go anywhere. You defeated that monster, right? NG chuckles. All might. And I did. We want to make sure that all will be all right for the future generations, including you, your mother 𝗵𝗲𝗄, and the Midoriya family. Shoto snuggles to his father. Even more, I'm glad that Dad beat the bad guys, and that Dad is still here. Me too, kid, me too. The door suddenly opens, revealing 𝗬𝐭 and 𝗵𝗲𝗄 with bags and a bag of food. NG, 𝗬𝐭 exclaims as both of them went near NG's bed. How are you hurt? Is there anything we am fine Yu-Gi-Oh? You can stop worrying, I just feel tired but ill live. Yu-Gi-Oh whacks his head. I have the right to worry about your well-being y'all give me gray hairs. Because of you alright. I give up 𝗵𝗲𝗍 chuckled at their parents' antics. Shoto on the other hand tilts his head. 𝗵𝗲𝗍 what are they doing? He points out. Oh nothing Shoto. Just them loving each other. Oh Shoto replies I hope Izu. And I can be like that dad. 𝗵𝗲𝗍 then calls for their attention. How did you recover? NG then falls silent from the look that he has right now. They could see that even NG didn't have a clue. Truth to be told, I don't really know. But I remember that I was in pain that time. Then all of a sudden I heard a soft chime, a melody. I was about to open my eyes, but a bright golden light blinded me. But I know that I saw a golden feather flying toward me. He then touches his chest. When the light dissipated, I opened my eyes, but I saw no one. Then I tried to sit up, but I felt no pain. Then after that Shoto came and 𝗵𝗲𝗍 was about to answer, but Shoto spoke first. Dad, it also happened to me. What NG said. Yu-Gi-Oh and 𝗵𝗲𝗍 both looked at Shoto. I was sick that time at the school infirmary. After Izu ate lunch with me, I fell asleep. But I also saw what Dad saw. Wait, is that the reason why you recovered so quickly too? Yu-Gi-Oh asks, as she kneels down in Shoto's height. Shoto nods. Yeah, I woke up and the headache was gone. Does that mean that Dad's mysterious recovery also happened to Shoto? 𝗵𝗲𝗍 speculated. NG then said, wait, you were with Izuku, right? Shoto nods. We better confirm this ourselves. That reminds me, 𝗵𝗲𝗍 then interjects, while we were walking to your room, I saw Aunt Inko at the reception area. She looks worried and scared to death. Shoto's eyes widened. He then ran to his sister and took her hand. Dad, Mom were going to the reception area. Before they could answer, Shoto drags his sister away from the room. They were fast walking toward the reception area. 𝗵𝗲𝗍 saw the look Shoto has. She is Shoto's sister. 𝗵𝗲𝗍 knows what face he is showing right now. The boy had the look of worry. She knew Izuku well, and Shoto would be even broken if something were to happen to Shoto's first friend. She even knew the mark hidden in Shoto's wrist. Plus, they weren't even presented yet. 𝗵𝗲𝗍 is a beta, but she knows that Shoto will be an alpha in the future. 𝗵𝗲𝗍 knows the signs that their connection starts growing. If her deductions were correct, Shoto felt that his mate is in distress right now. She could only accompany her brother and assure him if anything would happen. They arrived at the reception. 𝗵𝗲𝗍 took the liberty to ask the nurse in front of them, excuse me, Mom, have you seen a woman with green hair and freckles passing by? The nurse was confused at first, but then answers, oh, I saw her. She is the mother of the recent patient that we have today. She was frantic when she came here asking for the doctor to tell her what happened. Shoto then asks, is the patient named Midoriya Izuku? Yes. 𝗵𝗲𝗍's eyes widens. She looks at Shoto, who sat down at the floor from shock. No, not good. She then turns back at the nurse. Where is Midoriya Izuku? We are friends with the Midoriya family right now. My brother needs to see him. He's his fated mate. It's complicated and cannot be explained right now. The nurse saw the urgency and then replies, he's at room 615. The first number indicates the floor. Thank you. 𝗵𝗲𝗍 then kneels down at her brother and puts a hand on his shoulder. Shoto, Nisan, he needs me. I know, Shoto, I know. Deep breaths. Okay, calm down for Izuku. Okay. Shoto shakily nods. As he tries to calm down, 𝗵𝗲𝗍 smiles in approval. 𝗵𝗲𝗍 then speaks again. We're going to Izuku's room, but you must not panic, okay? The last thing Izuku needs is you panicking. All right. Shoto nods. Good. She then carries Shoto in her arms. As they took the elevator ride, Inko didn't know why this all happened. She only wanted a normal life with her child, the one that she carried from her love, Izuku's father. Yet why? The image she is seeing right now clenches her heart into bits. Her beloved child in a hospital with enrollment for drip and blood bag in his arms, plus an oxygen mask present in his face. Inko didn't know why his son would be in such a horrible state. A 7-year-old boy who lost a lot of blood. She just found Izuku in his room unconscious with blood in his lips, and knows she was scared when the ambulance arrived. Izuku hasn't woken up. Even when they already arrived at the hospital, Izuku remained asleep. Not only that, a fever also appeared onto the boy. It was a miracle that they were able to send him in the hospital right now. But now she was bewildered at Izuku's state. Not unless did you Izuku? Her thoughts were interrupted by a knock on the door. The door opens, revealing Shoto with a worried look on to 𝐒𝐭𝐚𝐲. 𝗂𝐭 looks at Shoto. She could see every inch of fear and worry from the boy. She quickly went toward him and gave the boy a hug. Shoto saw it. 𝗂𝐭 was crying. All the boy could do was comfort the mother of the person he loves, Aunt 𝗂𝐭. I don't blame yourself, Shoto-kun. Izuku wouldn't want that. I know. Shoto looks away as they both separate from the hug. Izu is here. He's hurt, and I failed to protect him. 𝗂𝐭 wipes her tears away and touches Shoto's cheek, gently forcing him to look at her. Shoto-kun, please don't. Both of you are still too young, and your father just experienced a life-threatening situation. Please don't blame yourself. Then they turn around as the door opens. Yukio and 𝗵𝗲 along with Enji enters the room. They quickly went toward 𝗂𝐭 and Shoto. Yukio gasps when she saw Izuku's state. Enji looks down as his fist clenches. Before anyone could ever speak, they heard a groan. Shoto first turns. Izu. He quickly went beside the bed. Izu, please talk to me. Izuku's eyes slowly opens. He turns and saw Shoto. Worry and fear was all in the other boy's face. Izuku's heart clenches when he saw Yukio, 𝗵𝗲, and his mother look at him at the same look Shoto has. Izuku then felt someone holding one of his hand. Is Shokin. The tears that pent up on Shoto finally began to fall. He saw his beloved Izuku with an oxygen mask and Roman 4 drop, and a bag that has blood on it. He could also feel the warmth that was terrifying and dangerous. Shoto finally realized that he's sick and suffering. Izuku. Why? Izuku's eyes widens when Shoto calls him by his first full name. He made a promise to himself that hell never make Shoto cry. But he's crying in front of him. Why? I was supposed to be sick that time. Dad's at the hospital. But he's all better now. Yet why? Shoto's hand grasped Izuku's own hand. Even more, the look that Shoto has right now made Izuku scared. Shokin. Why? Just why are you the one that healed me? Did you heal Dad as well? You said you were quirkless. But here you are in a hospital. As Shoto, please calm down. 𝗵𝗲 begs. Shoto, please calm down. They were about to grab Shoto away, but they were stopped from their tracks. Even Shoto stopped his crying and shouting. Izuku was crying. But that's not what made them stop. Blood began pricking in his nose as tears fell down from his eyes. Fat tears began to fall tremendously with blood falling in his nose. I'm sorry. He then covers his eyes. Enji took the liberty to press the emergency button beside Izuku's bed. Shoto was frozen from what he's seeing right now. Even 𝗂𝐭, Yukio, and 𝗵𝗲 couldn't move an inch. They didn't know why, but they were frozen by worry and shock. Shokin is always protecting me. Uncle Enji is nice. I can't. I don't want to see Shokin sad because he doesn't have a dad. Then 𝗂𝐭 says, you used your quirk. Did you use it to Injisen and Shoto-kun only? Her voice began to raise out of worry and anger. At the same time, Izuku couldn't lie to his mother. He couldn't even lie to Shoto and his family. With a choked sob, he replies, I all might too. Enji's eyes widens at the sudden discovery. Yukio gasps. As she covers her mouth, 𝗵𝗲 took her brother away from Shoto. But he was struggling. Izuku, you made a promise. I'm sorry, Mom. Shoto kept on struggling from his sister's grip. You have a quirk, you have, but... His hair covered his eyes as tears kept falling on his eyes. I don't want Izu to die. But why would you do that, saying that you don't want to make me sad? I'll be sad even more if Izu will die. Shoto kept on struggling. As he looks onto Izuku, you healed me, you let my dad live. But at what cost? Why? Izuku kept on crying. Shoto and 𝗂𝐭 are becoming hysterical. Enji, 𝗵𝗲, and Yukio could see that the green-haired child is still crying, but his nose is still dripping blood. But then 𝗂𝐭 and Shoto were able to calm down because Izuku began to cough up blood. Izu, Shoto shouts out of fear and worry, let me go, Nisan. Izu needs me. But 𝗵𝗲 kept her grip at Shoto's arms. Enji then grabbed 𝗂𝐭 away. When the doctor and nurses arrived, she could only cry when she snaps at his son. They got out of the room as they left them to do their jobs. But Shoto was still struggling. Shoto, please calm down. 𝗵𝗲 begs, no, I did something wrong. I can feel it. Izu needs me, let me go. Yukio also went near him and used her ice quirk to hold his legs. Shoto, please calm down. Even with the ice quirk in his legs, he's still frantic. The ice in his legs started to spread enough. A booming voice echoed throughout the room. Shoto froze in fear. His father is standing in front of him with flames around his body. Then all of a sudden he felt the world around him go blurry. He lost consciousness. Enji then melts the ice and caught his son by his arms. He could only sigh and look at his son with sadness and regret. You went too far, 𝐭𝐸𝐲. I know, 𝐭𝐸𝐲 bows his head, guilt seeping through his heart. I know I used his greatest fear. It was the only way to calm him down. I'm sorry, Yukio 𝗵𝗲𝗄. Then proceeds to carry Shoto in her arms. Don't worry, I'll take him back to your hospital room. I'll talk to him. When he wakes up, 𝗵𝗲𝗄 left the three of them alone. I'm sorry, Yukio, and 𝐭𝐸𝐲 looks at her. I lashed at my son, oh God, I may have killed him. Yukio sat beside her. I can't say that it's not your fault. But blaming yourself won't help, Izuku-kun. 𝐭𝐸𝐲 then kneels down in front of 𝐭𝐸𝐽, his alpha instincts feeling guilty. He made Yukio sad. And he owed 𝐭𝐸𝐽's son very much. Let's hope that Izuku-kun will be okay. Shoto woke up feeling tired. But even then he remembers what happened those few moments ago. He made his 𝐒𝐻𝐢 sad, he made 𝐒𝐻𝐢 cry, he made 𝐒𝐻𝐢 bleed. Shoto realized that 𝐒𝐻𝐢 helped him all this time. He's the reason why Shoto's dad is still alive. And why he healed immediately. He knew that he lashed out on Izuku and made the boy cry from guilt. Shoto's heart clenched. When he remembers his face, he didn't cry, but his face bore the guilt of his words and actions. He made his soulmate upset. Izuku gave him that comfort from the distance. But when Izuku felt distress, all he did was yell Shoto. He turns and saw his sister staring at him. I know what you're going to say, Nisan. I deserved it. I made 𝐻𝐻𝢢 cry. You did. You promised yourself that you'll protect him, right? That you won't be a meanie to him. Shoto nods. Roman too failed him more. The reason to try again and say sorry to Izuku-kun. How? Shoto covers his face, recalling the images of Izuku's sadness and guilt. I hurt him. I said mean things to him. How can he forgive me? He will, Shoto. He loves you and cares for your well-being. It would hurt Izuku even more if you continue moping around. Go back and never repeat what you did. Now tell me what you really feel. Roman too. Shoto stutters, but sighs and replies once more. I want to protect 𝐻𝐻𝢢. I want to make sure that he's fine. At the same time, I want 𝐻𝐻𝢢 to be happy. There are the things you can do, little brother, she said as she caressed Shoto's cheek. Support him, stay by his side, protect him, respect him, love him, and treat him no different. Treat him as Midoriya Izuku. If you can make him strong, be one of his inspirations. Shoto's eyes widens. Izuku-kun is one of your inspiration to be a hero, right? Then be his too. Shoto, be a hero because you want to be, and you want to inspire others. Start with the one who you love. Shoto and 𝗵𝗲𝗄 got out of the elevator right on time. When they spotted their parents and 𝐭𝐸𝐽 with a doctor, they all turned when they noticed the two children heading straight for them. 𝗵𝗲𝗄 held Shoto's hand, but the boy avoided their gazes. It was 𝐭𝐸𝐽 who went to them first. He kneels in front of his son. Shoto, his dad stutters. I'm sorry, son. I used your fear. I'm so sorry. Shoto slowly looks at his dad. Worry and fear was there in the man's eyes. I am sorry too, Dad. You were supposed to recover, but I acted out differently. I forced you to do the worst. 𝐭𝐸𝐽 hugs his son in relief that he forgave him, but still worried by his son's emotional health. I know. And I am sorry for what I did. Your quirk is getting violent. Add the ice that your mother put in your legs. Shoto nods. Now come on, you two might want to hear what the doctor will say. I recommended him to 𝐭𝐸𝐽. Takano-sensei is the best doctor I know for Izuku-kun. 𝐭𝐸𝐽 led the children near the door of Izuku's room. Aunt 𝗵𝗃. Shoto begins. 𝗵𝗃 then caresses Shoto's hair. It's all right, Shoto-kun, please don't blame yourself. The Takano then clears his throat, earning the attention of everyone. Doctor, how's Izuku? 𝗵𝗃 asks. He woke up a few minutes ago. I was able to explain the predicament he is in before I consulted all of you, especially from what I've heard his fated mate is here with us. They all nodded as Shoto pointed to himself. I don't know the description of his quirk, but from what I observed, that healing quirk of his took a lot of toll. How much has it been used throughout his years? 𝗵𝗃 answers. I don't know, 45 times maybe. The first time he used was when I discovered it. He healed one of my accidental cuts from a knife. But he collapsed, but the rest of it was used in major injuries and sicknesses. The doctor puts a finger on his chin. Your son lost a large amount of blood. Add to what we've seen that when he gets too emotional and stressed out, he'll get a nosebleed or worst, coughs out blood, their eyes widens. This will frequently happen now that he used his quirk too much. This means that his healing quirk requires both stamina and his health depending on how serious it is. 𝗵𝗃 gasps. What can we do? The Takano sighs. Even if we were to tell him to take it easy, I'm sure that your son would still use his quirk. No matter what, I just suggest that we give him some blood supplements and blood bags when he gets out of the hospital. He also needs to eat a lot of food that is rich in iron. I also require him for a checkup with me 2 times a month, so we could check on his quirk and his health. But be in mind that his blood supplements needs to be in a cold temperature. Shoto then interjects, then if Izu needs those medicines, I can carry some of them when we get out. Shoto, the doctor said. Fayumi was cut off when Shoto spoke again. I can use my right side. I can use my ice quirk. I'll just stay by his side, so he can be safe. They all looked at Shoto, but all they could see was the determination in his eyes. Takano chuckles. Then it's official. Then I'll leave you to talk about this, please. Excuse me. The doctor bowed as he took his leave. Yukio then went to her children. Why don't you go to Izuku-kun's room? Well, just talk. Shoto nods and grabs Fayumi's hand. Let's go. As the 2 children went to Izuku's room, Inji and Yukio looks at Inko. The green-haired woman nods, understanding the predicament she is in. It all started before Izuku was born. Izuku stirs himself when he felt someone beside him. It was warm and cold at the same time, but it was the comfort that Izuku had longed for. He slowly opens his eyes and saw his Shokin asleep beside him. Izuku also noticed that Fayumi was there, but she was asleep at the sofa. Izuku felt that Shoto was holding his hand. The green-haired child immediately felt guilty when he noticed the dried tears in his cheeks. Slowly, he caresses Shoto's cheeks, wiping away some freshly fallen ones. His hand moved away when he noticed Shoto stirring awake. Shoto's dual-colored eyes slowly opens. He saw Izuku awake and sad. Izu, Shoto softly exclaims, "Hey Shokin." The 2 remained silent, but they both knew what the other would say. They both touched their hands that contained the mark of their connection. It felt warm, and it gave comfort to both of them. As Shokin, Izuku finally spoke. I Shoto puts a finger in Izuku's lips. I know I could never stop you. I'm worried for Izu, but at the same time I can't stop you all the time. But Shoto looks away from Izuku. The green-haired child puts a hand on his cheek. Shoto smiles. I won't waver anymore. I'll be by your side all the time to protect you. I'll help you. Izu asks Shokin with a determined look. Shoto replies once more, I'll be a hero worthy to protect others, especially you, Izu. But I want to be the one to help and support you. I still don't know the extent of your quirk, but I'll do what it takes to stay beside you. I'm sorry if I acted out rashly, but I want you to know that I like Izu so much that it hurts me when I see you in pain. Shoto quickly hugs Izuku to his chest, trying to mind the wires in the smaller boy's body. That's why, promise me, if ever needed to use your quirk, I should be there. Or your mom and my parents. Don't ever use your quirk on me when I have a scratch. Or if I am sick, use it only when necessary. Okay. Izuku nods, tears starting to fall down on his face. Yeah, I'm sorry that I made you mad. Shoto hugs him even more. I'm sorry that I made you cry. Shokin doesn't hate me. Never. Thank you. Shoto smiles and caresses Izuku's fluffy hair. I thank you as well, my Izu. He whispers the last part. It was a year after the incident, and both families began to recover. However, the incident of All Might and Endeavor were kept a secret from public. The only ones who knew the extent of the events are the upper-ups, the pro heroes, plus the Midoriya and Todoroki family. Shoto always stayed by his side. After that, he kept a small bag by his belt containing Izuku's meds, but he kept it at the right side and used his quirk to keep it cool. He even went too far as to use his ice on people who dare to hurt his precious bunny. So far, the only one who knew the extent of Izuku's quirk were the higher-ups, the pros, his mom and dad. And so as Inko, they couldn't tell the details. But the adults promised them Asnors when they all grow up. Shoto changed, but still remained the same after his 8th birthday. He released a lot of pheromones. Thank goodness that he was at home that time when Izuku and Inko visited. But they were able to smell the scent Shoto released. It was the scent of an alpha. He wasn't matured yet, so his ruts would happen at the age of 13. Shoto became even more protective. He was serious all the time. When he and his father trained in fighting, his ice quirk improved even further. But his fire quirk remained dormant. Shoto still refused to use it, but only to melt the ice made. Even with all the sudden seriousness and training, Shoto still went on to spend some time with Izuku. The green-haired boy would always smile for him and show his newly merchandise of all might. Shoto would occasionally buy him some in his father's money. Enji even went out to help Izuku in his medical needs. He even helped the Midoriya family financially since Inko is both a single and working mother. Enji states that he owed a life debt to Izuku for healing his son and saving his life, even if Izuku said that it's all right, and he doesn't need to go further. Enji still pursued to help the Midoriya family in any way, especially since he knows their circumstances. Yukio and Fayumi would occasionally bring some food over to the Midoriya household, trying to help Inko in any way. They left Shoto to be with Izuku. They were both walking to school on a July morning. Izuku walks with Shoto with a smile on his face. The dual-color-haired boy smiles as he knew what the day is. It is Izuku's birthday. Ever since he got out of the hospital, Shoto took TGE liberty to carry some of Izuku's stuff, or just carry him by Shoto's arms. Even if Izuku would always say that he doesn't want to burden Shoto, he would always jump head on and do it. Shoto still hasn't smelled any pheromones of his other gender. He's worried, but he knows that it will be all right for them. They arrived at school, but they paused. Shoto looks and saw Izuku being anxious again. Quickly he held his hands and made Izuku look at him. He's scared, but at least it isn't strong yet. Shoto didn't know why, but by now he could sometimes feel Izuku's emotions. He caresses his cheek. Hey, it will be fine. It's your birthday, right? Make sure that you're okay. Izuku giggles. You always do that. And I won't ever stop now. Come on, we might be late. They entered the classroom and took their usual seats. The teachers allowed Izuku and Shoto sit beside each other for personal reasons, but they were both glad that they were able to do so. Shoto notices that some people are staring at them, especially to Izu. It made him feel irritated that someone is looking at his Izu. Shocking. Are you okay? Shoto was snapped out of his trance when Izuku was in front of him. Yeah. Sorry for worrying you. It's fine. They were about to ignore the others when Shoto smelled something sweet and comforting. It was faint, but it's like he knew the scent of it. Oi Deku. Bakugo suddenly came and smacks his hand at their desks. Izuku flinched and Shoto glared daggers at the blonde. What do you want? Bakugo, you're causing a ruckus again. Shoto says, can you ask this shitty nerd to not use any perfume? It's making my damn nose twitch. Fuck perfume. Izuku doesn't use per. They went silent when the smell got stronger that it filled the room. Shoto's eyes widens. He smelled the scent even more and his nose directed him to the owner of the scent. It was his Izu. He has the pheromones. It was just like when Shoto released his was a strong, comforting smell according to Izuku. But now his Izu's smell, it was sweet and comforting. The scent was calling on to him. Mine, my mate. Only mine, my omega. His alpha instinct shouts within him. His father told him about ruts. But it's not until he's 13 though when an alpha meets his fated mate. Holy moly. Shoto knew that Izu is his fated mate. But the reason why his alpha instincts is screaming inside him like crazy is because there are other newly awakened alphas, especially Bakugo looking at him like a piece of meat. Shoto knew that omegas are very rare. Having one will consider them as lucky since they are very treasured and loved dearly. There are laws that protect omegas, but Shoto knew that there are others who are treating an omega like a trophy without love, only as a price to be shown in the public. Shoto doesn't want that. He wants Izuku to be loved and protected. Shoto knew that he is Izuku's fated mate. Even at the age of 8, he knew that's why he couldn't handle other people looking at him like some trophy. He knew those people, their classmates. No one even bothered to talk to his Izu. Now they are looking at him like he's important to them. Shoto was clenching his hand on the table. It was starting to have a scratch mark. Bakugo then went near Izuku, his hand reaching forward trying to touch him. Deku. Your Izuku was getting anxious. He knew that he finally released his scent and people are staring at him. He knew that the people around him had the look of disgust and disdain. Now he wonders why everyone is looking at him like he's a part of them, like he's important to them. Their eyes suddenly softens, and he saw and hears that they want him. Izuku began to breathe heavily. Slowly blood was starting to drip down his nose. Everyone's eyes widens, especially Bakugo. They were about to go near Izuku, but someone stops them all. Shoto was in front of Izuku. He activates his ice quirk, making a barrier among them. He sends them glares and a growl which made them back off. However, Bakugo glares at him. What the fuck, half and half bastard? I was about to help that fucking nerd. Shoto glares at them. He gave Izuku his hanky. Just look down and let the blood fall on your nose. Okay, hold on a moment. Izuku nods. Shoto melts the ice, but he kept on releasing his growl, signaling that he's not the type of alpha anyone can mess with. When the ice finally melts and teachers started to get inside the classroom, Shoto carries Izuku by his arms. I won't allow any of you to touch him. I know you all too well, so back off, he growls. The teacher's eyes widens when they smelled the scent. They finally understood the situation. Shoto quickly went to the clinic alone with Izuku in his arms, ignoring the teacher's calls for him to go back. Those teachers can't even be trusted. They didn't even paid any attention when he was bullied from before. He's weak. They are just as mean as them. They stayed at the clinic for a while. The nurse decides to call their parents for them to get home since Izuku's pheromones is still present, plus Shoto wouldn't leave the boy alone. The nurse decided for them to go home until his scent calms down a bit. Shoto gave Izuku his meds, which he drank with water. They were blood supplements that Izuku needed to drink. When he bleeds again, Shoto finally calms down. When the blood on Izuku's nose finally stops, he wipes it away and cleaned it. Izuku didn't batter an eye contact with Shoto. The dual-colored boy understands it. It might hurt him a bit, but Izuku's well-being is very important to him. and Omega then, and Shokin is an alpha. Shoto slowly nods. He's already afraid on what he would say. Izuku faced many of his alpha classmates who loathes him. Now when he is presented as an Omega, they wanted him, they wanted to take what is his. But Shokin is different. Shoto's eyes widens. Izuku removed the wristband and showed his marks. Shoto did the same. Their marks had the faint glow when they touched hands. Mom said that this mark connects me with the one that I will love and be with forever. Shokin is different. Even if he's an alpha, Shokin is Shokin. Nothing will change. Shoto wanted to cry. He just wants to hug Izuku and lock him in his arms. But the overwhelming feeling made him froze. I'm glad that it's Shokin, Izuku said with a big smile, feeling extremely happy. But it was cut off when blood fell down on his nose again. Rather than scolding, Shoto merely takes another tissue and caught the blood falling. His smile is still present when we turn 13 or 14. Like what our parents told us about the process in going to properly court you. Shoto caresses Izuku's cheeks. I won't mark you yet. I'll wait when you're ready. Izuku, thank you. Izuku smiles. Even when his nose is dripping blood, he still feels happy and glad. It's Shokin. Whole be with me. Shoto presses his forehead onto Izuku's. I made a promise, remember, I intend to keep it. I'll love Izu as both my friend and someone who I wanted to be with when we grow up. I'll make you my bride. Izuku blushes as Shokin. Shoto chuckles. As he calms Izuku down, he wipes the remaining blood off his nose. He kisses Izuku's cheeks. The future that the two of them shares is still vague, but they know that the two of them will eventually get there. Izuku then never used his quirk, but still had frequent nosebleeds. Shoto is always there to make sure he drinks his meds. Then 6 years later, the moment of their high school, they enrolled in UA as both a recommendation. Shoto is in Heroes class, but Izuku stayed in general studies due to the wishes of Inko. And they still didn't know if healing is Izuku's only quirk. But it was now their starting point where these two will become the world's unforgettable heroes. UA, the top school for future aspiring heroes in Japan due to its strict rules and ways of education. Only a selected few, both that came from recommendations of from passing the exams, shall be granted the red carpet at this hero academy. Majority of the pro heroes graduated at this fine prestigious school. As long as you do well in both academics and hero training, you'll be guaranteed a life of being a true hero. That's where they all begin their first steps as heroes. It's been 2 months since both Izuku and Shoto enrolled in UA as a recommendation by both Endeavor, and surprisingly from All Might they didn't need to take any exams. But Izuku and Shoto were in separate classes. Shoto is in Hero Academics, while Izuku is in General Studies due to the wishes of her mother, plus his quirk still remained unknown. Shoto is sure that he wants to be a hero, not only to surpass his father and All Might, but to also learn how to save others. It all came from Izuku. The pressure of him being Endeavor's son is truly hard for the dual-colored teen. But with Izuku by his side, Shoto can handle anything in front of him. It just pissed him off that he's far away from his line of sight. Even if Shoto looks like he's truly focused and class deep in his mind, he's wishing that classes would be over so that he could already see his green cinnamon Omega. But add insult to injury, and a massive headache. Bakugo is his classmate. Add to his list of exploitaboy being pissed. The blonde is always glaring daggers at him. He doesn't know why, but Shoto felt that it's connected to his Izu. All hell would be damned if something were to happen to him. At least he has just gone through his heat. Shoto thoughts as he scrambles some notes from 𝗵𝗲 class. When Izuku's heat occurred, it took every inch of Shoto's will to not pounce or mark his mate. He even asked his father to hold him tightly. Izuku stayed in their home during his heat for protection. Todoroki and 𝐔𝐬𝐚𝐠𝐞 even made sure that the room Izuku is using was a scent-proof. It had many equipment that states for any intruder. Yukio can only sigh at the scene when that happened, and 𝐔𝐬𝐚 was always on alert during Izuku's heat. Shoto didn't even bat a sleep and would always keep a safe distance to Izuku until his heat subsides, but would always went until the door to talk to his Omega. But Shoto kept his word. He won't every mark Izuku until he was ready. They are already courting, but they haven't made their label as boyfriends official. He would wait for the right time to make it official. But now they are at the stage of courting. Moving aside to his cute Omega, Shoto kept on track to his classmates. He smelled the scents of alphas and betas. There were no Omegas in their class. Shoto is still calm. He had a friend in general studies that lets him keep on track on Izuku. If trouble will occur, a quick dial in his phone, and he'll leave the classroom without any hesitation on their first day. He even glared on Izuku's classmates. It was like he was saying, these words hurt him and you're all dead. It was a silent threat, but everyone was able to read it. Of course, he warned them when Izuku wasn't looking at him, or when he's talking to Shinsu, a friend that they met when they were 13. He's an alpha, but proved trustworthy since he admits his feelings to Izuku right in front of his face. But of course Shinsu said that he has no tendency to steal him away, but only to stay by Izuku's side. At least I'm 25% sure that Izuku will be okay. Just as Shoto finishes his thoughts, the bell rung, signalizing that it was lunchtime. Finally, he then kept some of his stuff at his bag and took his phone. He gave a text toward Izuku with a content sigh and a small sigh. He kept his phone by his pockets. Just as he was about to leave with 2 lunchboxes on his hand, Ida and Uraraka stopped in front of him. Hi, Todoroki-kun. Uraraka, a beta with the quirk of zero gravity, greets the dual-colored teen. Hello, Uraraka. Shoto nods in the greeting hello as well. Todoroki-kun. Ida, an alpha with the quirk of engine, and also their class rep, also greeted. Shoto just nods. We were wondering if you want to eat with us for lunch. Uraraka asks, oh, I'm sorry, but I'm eating lunch with someone. Thanks for asking though. Excuse me, Todoroki says as he walks past to them. Uraraka and Ida stares at each other with a dumbfounded look. He's in a bit of a hurry. Hi, Uraraka sighs. Here, I thought that we can spend time with him. He seems like a nice guy. He is meeting with someone. Uraraka-san, I suggest that we leave him be since it's important to him. Ida replies, I guess it's just weird that he spends time with someone outside of our class. Let's just wait for Todoroki-kun to warm up to us. We're still a bit new to our surroundings. I'm sure that Todoroki-kun will eventually get close to us. Shoto peeks at the door of the general studies class. He then saw Izuku smiling while talking to Shinsu. Even as Shoto enjoys the sight of Izuku being happy, he doesn't want to be left out. He knocks on the door, which causes some attention. Izuku and Shinsu turns to see Shoto waving at them. The green-haired Omega quickly stood up and ran to him with open arms. Shokin. Izuku greets as he hugs Shoto. Hello to you too as well. He caresses Izuku's hair as his other hand held the 2 lunchboxes. Nice to see that you still came, Shoto. Shinsu greets on his hand was his lunchbox. I hope that nothing happened then. Hitoshi. Shoto returns the gesture. Hitoshi nods. Yes, I made sure that he's calm even when we had a difficult subject. He wasn't stressed out. I'm fine. Shokin. You and Hitochin are always worried. Seriously, try to calm down. Izuku pouts. Shoto chuckles. Anyways, let's go to the rooftop. I'm sure that Izuku is hungry by now. So how are things in general studies? Shoto asks the both of them as he took a bite of his meal. It's like going back to middle school again, but even more difficult. Shinsu sighs. It's not that hard, Hitochin, Izuku says as he drinks his green juice. You're smarter than me. Luckily, I can survive since Izuku is great at teaching me some stuff I can manage. But he's a big help. Izuku blushed. It's no big deal. Shoto smiles. It's not always wrong to help. You remember that, yeah? Izuku nods. Then his gaze went toward Shoto's bandaged arm. They were having a hero exercise last week, and it was caused by using his ice quirk too much. Izuku caresses Shoto's right hand. The dual-colored teen sighs and puts a hand on Izuku's cheek. I know what you're thinking. My answer is still the same. Don't use your quirk on me. I know I'm just worried you use your ice quirk too much. Izuku cuts his words there. He doesn't want to bring up the past. Izuku would always observe how he and his father would train. They were teaching basic combat. But when it comes to quirks, Izuku could only see ice. They might fail to notice. But Shoto's right arm would secretly tremble when overused. Even if Shoto was tired, he would always say that he's still okay to go. Izuku knew that he wanted to protect him. But sometimes he cursed himself for having this kind of health. It made his name give Justice Deku a useless person. Even if Shoto were to comfort him, even if Shoto's family and his mother would always comfort him, he still felt the same wretched feeling deep within him. He wanted to help others, but his health was stopping him. Izuku dreamed to be a hero like All Might, to be as strong as all of the pro heroes. But his health would only hold him back. He accepts reality, that he will be nothing more than a useless Deku. The world can only see him as an Omega, a prized possession. His thoughts were then cut off when he noticed Shinsu and Shoto's worried faces. He felt something in his nose and saw that it was one of Shoto's spare handkerchiefs. You're bleeding again, Izuku exclaims. I'm sorry, Shokin Hitochin. Shinsu sighs again with the apology. It's not your fault, Izuku well repeated all the time. Shoto nods. Please stop what you're thinking, I'm still here for you along with Hitoshi. The bleeding then stops. Shoto then gave him 2 pills of Izuku's blood supplements. Sorry, Shoto. Only hugs him. Don't pressure yourself, Izu. Never leave you. Izuku snuggles, enjoying the comfort around him. Yagi Toshinori would never imagine himself as a teacher for students. Sure, he was able to give some advices, but teaching is something that he wasn't used to it. Yet after his injuries were healed, Toshinori didn't see any signs of weakening or his form being depleted. He can still be in his skeleton form, but he could also be in his prime hero form. There was no more limit. It was like he was back to the way he was used to be. That's why for 6 years he was looking for the boy who saved him. Not only does he feel thankful, he felt the need to repay him. He remembers green hair and green eyes with freckles and a few specks of green hair. He couldn't forget the wings that he saw in front of him. It was like a guardian angel that was sent from heaven. For 8 years Yagi Toshinori searched for the boy, but he never saw him anymore. But then Nedzu called him, offering a job as a teacher in Yuyui. Nedzu was one of the few who knew of his previous conditions. But it changed when he remembers why he accepted the job. I appreciate the offer, Principal Nedzu, but I'm afraid that I have to pass. And why? It could be a great opportunity for you. Yajisan Toshinori nods. I know, but I just don't teach well in front of students. I'm not even sure if I am cut out for the job. Plus, I have no more interest in looking for a successor thanks to someone who saved me. I've been in this form for 6 years long. I was never weakened anymore. That's also what I like to talk about, Nedzu then replies back. Toshinori's eyes slightly widens, seemingly interested at the next topic. What do you mean? Nedzu then gave him a file which has the words confidential. Toshinori opens the folder and his eyes widens. Green hair, green eyes, same features from the boy that he saw in the hospital. But he grew up a bit. Midoriya Izuku, you're looking for him, right? Toshinori flinches. It's confidential. But after the incident that you and Endeavor healed quickly, Todoroki-san decided to speak about this to the higher-ups, including me. You saw his quirk, right? Toshinori stares at the picture of the boy, his eyes locked. Everything was surreal and familiar. Seeing the boy that saved him long ago. So far the only thing we know is his healing quirk. They might say that Midoriya-kun's quirk is just one. But I have a hunch that it's not just it. You're trying to know who he is, right? Toshinori didn't answer. He's studying at Yuyui. Yes, he will. But he'll only be in general study. Give him a recommendation in my name. Nedzu tilts his head. Pardon. Give him a recommendation under my name. I'll accept your offer in teaching my. That's a quick change of thoughts, Nedzu exclaims. I just want to see him. I don't know why, but I want to get to know him. In the end, Toshinori teaches at Heroes class. He never got the chance yet to see the boy that saved him. He was just walking forward when he didn't notice someone bumping toward him. The other person, however, fell on the floor. I'm sorry, Toshinori exclaims. But his eyes widens. Right in front of him is none other than Midoriya Izuku, the boy that he gave a recommendation. The boy, however, stares at him with wide eyes. He was frozen from shock and astonishment. All Might, Izuku stutters. Toshinori was about to chuckle, But it changed when the boy started to have a nosebleed. Nezu warned him about Izuku's condition, so he quickly took a handkerchief and covered Izuku's nose. Come on, Toshinori assists Izuku. Let's get you to the infirmary. Midoriya, my boy. Izuku nods, as he lets All Might lead him to the infirmary. Chiyo didn't even react when she saw Izuku along with Toshinori entering the infirmary. Rather, she leads Izuku on the bed, calmed Izuku down, and gave him the supplements he needed. Toshinori stayed with Izuku at the infirmary for company. Izuku stares at Toshinori in awe, but he managed to keep his emotion is checked. Toshinori observes the boy's simple gestures. You seem to be nervous around me. I sorry. Toshinori chuckles. It's fine, try to treat me like I'm your friend, not as All Might right now. Oof, course. Toshinori smiles. Anyways, my real name is Yagi Toshinori. You must be Midoriya Izuku, right? Yeah, nice to meet you. Yaji-sensei. Toshinori nods, smiling, as he notices the boy slightly warming up to him. Anyways, I haven't thanked you yet. Huh. But I haven't done anything. Toshinori chuckles once more. You might not notice, but I saw your face when you healed me 6 years ago. Wait, Izuku exclaims. You saw me? Toshinori nods. Yes, I've been trying to find you since I got out of the hospital. But since I didn't know your name, I didn't have any clues to where I could find you. Toshinori puts a hand on Izuku's shoulder. For someone like you, I can see something special, kid. Not everyone can act like that. You didn't know me that well, Midoriya, my boy. But you jumped head on and saved me. I know the details of your health, and it might be from healing endeavor, and that's why I couldn't thank you enough. Yaji-sensei, it might not be enough, but this is all I could do. Even if you're like that, I know that you're strong. You can become someone great. You might even surpass me, Midoriya, my boy. You can truly become a hero. Izuku heard every inch of Toshinori's words. They were simple, but they were able to touch his heart. Someone called him strong again. His idol called him strong. Izuku began to cry. His nose began to bleed. He still held the handkerchief that Toshinori gave him. Thank you. Outside, Shoto was listening to their conversation. He felt the distress of his Omega and followed them, but Shoto decided not to interfere or even show his presence. He could only smile in relief. He knew that maybe one day Izu would have that courage back. All Might wasn't the only one who has seen Izuku's potential. Shoto can see it. Even his father also noticed it. Shoto waited for a few minutes before he knocks and enters. Shoto smiles when he saw Izuku's bright smile. Shoto didn't have the heart to scold Izuku or Toshinori. He just went beside Izu and gave him the comfort he deserves while talking to All Might. But Shoto understands that Izuku would someday come out. Majority of the alpha population of class 1 saw Shoto as the best definition of a perfect alpha, smart, rich, powerful, and even freaking handsome. No one would understand how one Todoroki Shoto would be born perfect since first day of class. He gave the vibe of a one-of-a-kind alpha with high standards vibe. When it comes to hero training, he would always win in academics. He would always answer the questions perfectly, even if they would notice that he was not listening. A simple wipe of his forehead, they saw it as flawless. Every move he makes flawless. They would always wonder how one Todoroki Shoto can be that hot and stay humble at the same time. They all tried to get close to Shoto. He would talk to them, of course, but when it comes to spending time with them during break time and lunchtime, he would always excuse himself, stating that he had to meet with someone else. Heck, they even once saw him texting someone while class is being held. It was a damn miracle that the teacher never noticed Shoto texting. But still, they always wondered who was Todoroki Shoto spending time with. Add the question, who is he texting? It was lunchtime when they knew Shoto was already out of the classroom. Everyone in class 1A, including Bakugo, even though he doesn't give a million shits and perverted Minta, I wish I didn't add him. XD had a secret meeting regarding Shoto's mysterious meetups. Alright, I now commence the what the hell is Todoroki up to meeting to begin. Kaminari interjects, earning a groan from majority of the female group, while others just nods in agreement. Ugh, Kaminari, stop with the names. Jiru groans. Momo clears her throat, earning the attention of all. As much as I hate being part of this, we forgot the main reason of our meetup. It's about Todoroki-san, right, along with his behavior. They all nodded. I-kun, and I tried everything so Todoroki-kun can try and hang out with us, but he would always decline. Uraraka said, earning a hum from the others. I tried asking Todoroki-san too. He didn't explain much, but he gave me some very vague details. I'm hanging out with my bunny. That's it. Minta exclaims, does he bring a pet or something? Or maybe he has a Kirishima then decided to interrupt what 𝗵𝗲 was about to release. Maybe it's a friend of his 𝗧𝗪. Then snaps his fingers a secret lover. Then everyone's mouths went shut when the word lover came out tisk. So what if that half-bastard is being lovey-dovey with someone? If he gets distracted, I'll make sure to kick his fucking ass hard. Bakugo growls, "You're just as curious as us." Bakugo, Kirishima pointed out. "Shut the hell up, weird hair." The blonde alpha shouts. Bakugo is as loud as ever. Kirotsuyu sighs. "You wanna fucking go, froggy face?" Bakugo-kun, stop screaming at your classmates. Ida scolds them. Momo sighs along with some others. Ashido then spoke. "We all agree that Todoroki-kun is with someone, since we noticed him with his phone all the time. Have you also seen the pouch on his right side?" Tokoyami asks. "One time I saw it open and found around 10 packs of pills." 𝗲𝗵𝗲 snaps his fingers. "It must be an aphrodisiac. Then Todoroki must have kept it so he can." Tsuyu slapped 𝗵𝗲's face hard. "Be quiet, pervert. Whatever it is, it might belong to someone that Todoroki-kun is spending time with." Hagakure pointed out. "True. Not unless Kaminari cuts." What Kirishima was about to say. "Holy shit, is Todoroki buying drugs?" Momo face palms as Jiru smacks his head hard. "That's stupid, you dumbass. We're getting nowhere here." Ida exclaims. "How about we just stalk him?" Kirishima suggested. Everyone went silent. "What? How can you say that, Kirishima-kun?" Ida exclaims. "That is against moral conducts. Stalking someone is wrong." I say and Kaminari agrees, along with the other male. "What?" Ida then looked and saw the girls agreeing to the plan. "Yeah, let's stalk him," the girls all said in unison. "Are you all out of your minds?" Ida exclaims once more. "Stalking is wrong." "Oh, come on. It's not stalking, it's finding out the truth," Kaminari said. "It's still stalking. Test, count me out." Not fucking joining. Bakugo was cut off when Kirishima grabs his arm. "Oh no, you don't. You're coming with us." "The fuck? Not interested in 𝗬𝗧𝗏's love life. Better sign me the fuck out." Think of it as exploiting Todoroki's weakness. Then Bakugo went limp. "Ugh, fucking fine, you owe me hair for brains." Of course. Kirishima grins. How they all exclaimed in their minds, because angry blonde explode boy named Bakugo Katsuki agreed to come with them. "Let's just find that scar-faced bastard so my time can't be fucking wasted. Hurry up before I fucking change my mind." They all nodded as they planned when to stalk Shoto just to see what he has been up to. They all agreed to do it tomorrow by lunch. Operation Stalking Todoroki Shoto begins the next day. Finally arrived. The bell rung, signaling that it is now their lunch break. Shoto didn't batter an eye to everyone as he went along with his usual business. Then all hell broke loose. Momo stopped reading. Jiru removed her earphones. Ioma stopped admiring his looks by the mirror. Kirishima and Kaminari stopped chatting. Uraraka and Tsuyu stared to where Todoroki went. In other words, everyone stopped what they were doing and proceeded with the plan. They didn't all went out in unison. They allowed group by groups to get out of the classroom and find a perfect hiding spot for stalking their ice prince of class 1. They stayed separated, but near to each other without raising any suspicions from Shoto, though they already raised attention to other students who happened to pass by. "Man, he sure is walking far." 𝗧𝗪 whispers. Beside him were Kaminari, Kirishima, Tokoyami. "Weird. They thought 𝗵𝗲, the little bastard, is curious if Shoto has a girlfriend." And Bakugo, surprisingly, because they thought he would ditch them along with them, is at a safer distance where the other boys of their group, mainly Ida, even if he's really curious, decided to stay so far away from them. They just weren't stealthy enough at the eyes of other people. "Damn, that hotshot. I wonder if he has a girlfriend that he's secretly hiding." 𝗵𝗲 softly exclaims. "Yeah, I wonder where he is going. The direction that he's taking has other classrooms." Kaminari whispers back. "He does this every day." Just how committed he is for this meetup, Dark Shadow asks. "We're about to find out." Tokoyami answers. "Then again, how did I agree to be a part of this mess? Ugh. Why did I fucking come?" Bakugo grumbles. "This is a complete waste of my fucking time. If I don't find 𝗬𝗧𝗏 bastard shit interesting." Kirishima decided to ignore Bakugo's statement. "Wait. That's the direction going to where general studies classes are held." They decided to follow behind them, were the girls following Shoto stealthier and planned than the boys. They just pretend that they are a group who are hanging out with each other. But in reality, following their dual-colored teen, Momo is the only one who is in conflict. She wanted to find out, and at the same time she doesn't. They all hid in the corner as Shoto stops to look at his 2 lunchboxes. That is also one of their mysteries. But it can verify that he is eating with someone. But who Todoroki-kun always brings 2 lunchboxes, ha Hagakure pointed out. Jiro nods. Yeah, he is hanging out with someone we don't know. Uraraka narrows her eyes. While someone got so close to our fellow ice prince and knows every detail about him. Whoever this person is, he or she's a lucky duck. Todoroki-kun is starting to move. Kiro Ishido then said, let's follow him. They were about to, but they saw the boys already beside them in a mere meters. Hey, Momo calls their attention. I thought we agreed to keep some distance. We did, but we know where Todoroki might be going. Kirishima answers. Where Ishido, Uraraka, and Hagakure asked in unison. He may be going to general studies. Zero points out, looking at Shoto's direction, forgetting their original plan. They all waited until Shoto was in a safe distance for them to follow the serious ones in class. One could only groan at their actions right now. How the hell did we agree to this? They all thought in unison. They stopped when they noticed that Shoto stood in front of an open door. Even through the distance, they were able to see the sign up the wall, class 1C shit act natural scatter. Everyone thoughts when they saw Shoto almost looking at them, in which the only option they have is to hide by the corners. Those who suddenly brought their notebooks opened a random page just to cover their faces. The braver ones, mainly 𝗧𝗵𝗲 𝗧𝗵𝗲 and Uraraka, are by a nearer distance. The only one who went very near to Shoto was unfortunately 𝗵𝗲, who hid by the trash can Pikachu to create EDU copy. Target has stopped in class 1C, 𝗧𝗵𝗲 said in a walkie-talkie, to which Momo gave him rock boy to Pikachu. What's the target doing? Just waiting, though. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 can hear Momo groaning with a faint sound of give me that. All right, 𝗧𝗵𝗲. What can you see right now? Momo asks 𝗧𝗵𝗲, then looks back. Those who are with 𝗧𝗵𝗲 saw that a guy with purple hair got out of the classroom. Target has someone with him, purple hair with eye bags and alpha. Uraraka sweat drops. You're truly invested with these kinds of things. Purple, someone who is better than 𝗵𝗲, Momo exclaims. Affirmative. Takoyami and Zero could only sigh but chose to keep an eye on Shoto. Jiro, put your jack on, let's hear what they are about to say. Roger, hold on. Are we now going too far with this? Ida exclaims. They could only imagine that he's swinging his arms again. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 was about to answer, but they saw another person getting out. Another person came out. I heard it. 𝗧𝗵𝗲, now shut up and don't contribute as another unnecessary noise. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 was about to retort, but he suddenly smelled the scent of something so sweet. His alpha instincts recognizing the scent. Zero alpha, and unfortunately 𝗵𝗲. He thoughts that he's an alpha, but in reality, he's a beta. Seems to pick up the smell. Aoyama beta and Uraraka were able to smell it, but kept quiet, though they had their eyes wide open. Holy fucking shit, the fuck, 𝗧𝗵𝗲. I was about to hear what they are talking about. Jiro grumbles. Guys, you would not fucking believe what I just discovered. What? Everyone at Momo's group exclaims. 𝐻𝗏, for the fucking love of your balls, spit it out, dunderheaded fucktard. Bakugo loudly exclaims. Thankfully the noise didn't reach their vicinity. Todoroki. Shoto is with an omega. I repeat, he's with an omega. It's not a fucking drill. They didn't even answer before they even knew it. Everyone is already at the hiding spot of 𝗧𝗵𝗲's group, trying to sneak a peek at the sudden revelation. Everyone can now hear what they're saying. 𝗵𝗲, however, has the VIP seat. Shocking. They heard the voice, and oh my god, did they find it adorable. They saw the boy's features, large eyes with beautiful emerald-shaded orbs, freckles that cover his cute cheeks. Add that fluffy curly green hair. Goddammit, what the alphas and some beta of the group, mainly 𝗧𝗵𝗲, 𝗵𝗲, and Zero, exclaimed in their thoughts. The others could stare with shock at first glance. They find the green-haired boy to be attractively beautiful. They notice that he seems to be timid, but his smile was breathtaking. Now majority asks in their thoughts, how in the name of 7 hells did Todoroki found such a cutie? They were about to spy some more when they heard a pissed off and jealous growl. They all turned and saw Bakugo smoking in his palms. It's like he's about to raise hell. Holy shit. Kirishima Mizo and Ajiro quickly grabs him before he could even move. And before Bakugo could even raise hell through his booming voice, Ajiro neck chopped him dead, on which made him lose consciousness. Just as they were about to leave, they all saw Shoto carrying 𝗵𝗲 by his uniform. Damn fuck. He looks pissed. Shokin. Izuku turns. Shoto hid the now panicking 𝗵𝗲 by his back. Oh, nothing. You and Hitoshi go on ahead. I have something that I like to throw in the trash. Izuku merely nods. Okay, well, be going then. Shoto waited until both of them are in a safer distance. He then carries 𝗵𝗲 by the hem of his shirt. and puts him on his eye level. Well, 𝗵𝗲's dead. Just kidding, Shoto literally threw him in the trash that 𝗵𝗲 was hiding, and everyone returned to their classroom as lunch. If almost over, they let the information sink in as they decided to eat inside. Their ice prince has an 𝗲𝗍 with him. But the one who merely took the news with utter defeat was 𝗵𝗲, and 𝗵𝗲. Damn, Todoroki is already hooked with someone. 𝗵𝗲 mutters. 𝗧𝗏 also answers with the same tone. I know, wow, Todoroki. Shoto alpha extraordinaire, rich, strong, smart, handsome. And already has an 𝗲𝗍. Yeah, for once everyone agrees to that statement. 𝗵𝗲, however, was looking more grimly than the rest. I can't believe that hotshot has a cute-looking 𝗲𝗍 straight. But goddamn it, does that boy look so beautiful. How to be him? Should I search it in Google? How can I be as perfect as Todoroki? Shoto, that bastard. Just because he's so perfect and high doesn't mean that he can get the hot O. They all wanted to agree at 𝗵𝗲's statement. But since it came from the perverted grape boy, with no moral or social conducts about keeping his hands within himself, especially at the vicinity of women, worse than alpha women, they decided that what he's now spewing in his mouth was utterly terrifying and disgusting. 3 days later. Are you really sure that you can wait outside? I can ask 𝐈𝐴 that you can come, Shoto asks while holding Izuku's hands. The dual-colored teen didn't even want to let go of his hand. The two of them are standing outside of Shoto's classroom. Shokin, you're going to meet with Yaji-sensei and 𝐈𝐴-sensei. It must be important if they wanted to talk to you in private. It'll be fine. Besides, Yao immediately sense if I was in danger, right, Izuku? Then pushes Shoto to walk forward. Now off you go before they get mad. I don't want to. He then hugs Izuku. I'll just recharge her for a while. Shokin, you're being childish again. I want to be spoiled by Izu. Izuku merely chuckles. All right, just go right now. Seriously. I think they'll have a fit if you don't meet up with them right now. Fine, I'll make it quick. Just wait for me, okay? Izuku nods. Shoto smiles and ruffles Izuku's hair. I'll be quick, he said as he gave a quick peck in Izuku's cheeks and ran. It took every inch of will. Izuku has to not squeal in excitement. He merely smiles and caresses the cheek where Shoto kissed. Izuku smiles, looking at his wrist mark. But his face changes as he let thoughts crowd his mind. Izuku had practiced along with Shoto to control his emotions. But sometimes Izuku would fail in doing so. He can still remember the time he used his quirk to Shoto and his father. That was the last time he ever used it. His power that he still has yet to understand. Izuku knows that it's more than healing. He hasn't told anyone, including Shoto, that there are times when hear the urge of his quirk to finally be used. Then he had dreams where he saw 8 people staring at him, showing some sort of glowing orb right in their palms. When Toshinori told him that he can become a hero, he was overjoyed. But he still had doubts if he will ever walk that kind of path. Deku the Useless. It was the nickname that he was always used to. They remember him as a useless weakling, believing him to be quirkless and weak. But even if he has a quirk, he knows that he can never fully attain its powers. That's why when Inko begs that he stops using his quirk, he quickly obliges with his mother's wishes. That's what his mother would always tell him, never to use his quirk. She didn't explain why, nor why she forbids him. But Izuku loves his mother, so he respects her wishes. Now that they are attending Yuyui, it was the first time that they were separated. Shoto attends his dream as a hero, while Izuku remained in general studies. By that, Izuku knows that his dream of being a hero ends right now. Since he has no hope in doing so, Izuku wishes that he's also there with Shoto as a hero. But his fragile health stops him from doing so. Izuku would be stuck in a life of being useless Deku, who would only burden other people. Then he stops his thoughts and slaps both his cheeks. Izuku calms himself to avoid any nosebleeds. It was a good thing that he calmed down right on time, or Shoto would flip. Just then he heard voices from afar. He turns and saw familiar faces that he had seen. Izuku realized that it was Shoto's classmates, 17 voices who are busy chattering while leaving their classroom. But they paused when they saw Izuku standing outside. Wait, they are all Shoto's classmates. I remember Shokin saying that they are all 19. Izuku thoughts. Whoa, it's the boy that Todoroki is close with. 𝗵𝗲 exclaims. Everyone then saw Izuku, who is slightly fidgeting. Izuku meekly waves his hand. HHI. Then all of a sudden, they bombarded the green-haired 𝗲𝗍. Whoa, he really is cute. Is that really his natural hair color? Freckles. Is he like me? Are you sure you're a full Japanese? Izuku was starting to get uncomfortable. The sudden positive attention was very new to him. Everyone try to speak one by one, Ida exclaims. He's not going to understand what we're trying to say. Please calm down, everyone, Momo says, as she tries to hold the horses of their group. Suddenly Izuku felt someone touching his hand. He looked straight and saw no one down here. Izuku looks down and saw a small-looking grape head giving him a flirty look. Minato kneels in front of him with a rose. Where the hell did he got that on his lips? Never thought that I would meet such a rare beauty in this sad world. Minato wiggles his eyebrows. Minoru, it is my pleasure that destiny has given us the chance to, before Minato could finish, or before the rest of class, when I can pounce on the grape-headed midget. Ice shot forward, which covered Minato's whole body. They all slowly turned and saw local Ice Prince Todoroki Shoto looking royally infuriated and pissed. Ice was shot out from his right side, but they noticed his left smoking a shotgun. They all turned and noticed blood dripping from Izuku's nose. The green-haired teen was holding it with one of Shoto's spare handkerchiefs. Minato, you fucking idiot, they all thought, and no one dared to move. They had a feeling that one move will turn them into a human popsicle. Shoto melts the ice, but let the Minato popsicle still intact. He immediately went to Izuku's side and proceeds to check on the green-haired Omega. The rest of class 1A wanted to do something, or even say an apology, but no one uttered one single word, nor made a muscle call them weird. But it's like they could see both of Shoto's quirk overflowing, tempting him to either freeze them to death or burn them to hell. Are you okay, Izuku smiles in fine shocking. You can stop scaring them now. I'm not scaring them, Izu. Even if I did, they deserve it. Shoto gave him a smile that's just plain harsh. Todoroki, so cold. Shoto then carried Izuku in his arms and walks away from them. But the dual-colored teen stopped and glared at them. Once more they got the gist on what he's saying. Pray that all of you aren't dead to me. Especially you, Minato. They all watched when Shoto quickly walks away from them. When they assumed that he's far away through the distance, that's just cold. Todoroki, you're a bit mean to them. Shocking. Izuku points out the two of them are currently in Izuku's room, while doing some of their homework, both exchanging helps and questions. Shoto merely answers, well, they deserve it for making Izu bleed. Izuku sighs again with this shocking. They didn't mean it. Shoto pouts. He closes his notebook and proceeds to hug Izuku by his back, snuggling and sniffing the scent of the green-haired teen. Shocking. They seem to be nice, though I seem to be confused at the other student with round purple hair. Minato-kun. I guess Shoto had a tick mark, remembering the shameless actions of the grape-headed midget. Izuku sighs as he held onto Shoto's arms. Shocking should try and make friends too. Your classmates seem to be nice. He then covered Shoto's lips. It's slightly my fault too. I didn't even have the chance to introduce properly, nor let them introduce too. They seem to be nice too. Shocking. They're your classmates. Just try and make some friends too. Shoto looks away. But what about Izu? I'll be happy if Shocking also has friends other than me. You should also have some time with others. I don't want you to always be stuck with me. Shoto hugs Izuku. Even more, I always want to be with Izu. Oh, Shocking. Izuku sighs as he caresses Shoto's hair. Then an idea popped on Shoto's head. Since Izuku wants him to make friends, he also wants Izu to have friends. Since he knew that his elementary and middle school days weren't pretty, ill try to spend time with them. But on one condition. What is it? Come with me when I spend time with them. Izuku's eyes widens. But they're your classmates. Shocking. Shoto sighs, pinching Izuku's cheeks gently. Even if I hate their guts for stalking us and for overwhelming them, you're right, they're a nice bunch. They seem fixated on getting to know you too. I've put some thought about it too, so why not? Izuku's eyes then brightens. Really well, spend time with them too, as long as Izu is with me. I'll manage. By the next week, they were able to introduce properly. It didn't took long that they all warmed up to Izuku, who became a part of class 1A. Even if he's from the general studies, Izuku's fanboy characteristics and brilliant mind made them get closer to him even more. Turns out Midoriya is a ray of sunshine. No one could resist him. But one Bakugo Katsuki. When they met again, where all of class 1A invited Izuku to have lunch with them, they stared at each other. But no one from the two of them spoke a single word. They noticed that Bakugo and Izuku kept at a safe distance, with Shoto giving the blonde a glare. Since they wanted to get to know Izuku more, the whole class suggested that they went to the mall on a weekend. Everyone agreed to it, and miraculously Kirishima was able to drag Bakugo onto it. It took a lot of convincing for Shoto to agree, but thanks to Izuku's words of light, Shoto agrees to it. We now find Class 1A inside the mall by an ice cream parlor. They decided to get some ice cream while waiting for the four to arrive: Bakugo, Kirishima, Shoto, and Izuku. It didn't take long that both Kirishima and Bakugo arrived. Bakugo in his usual grumpy self, while Kirishima smiles and waves at them. Yo, Kirishima greets them, hello Kirishima-kun, and Bakugo Uraraka waves at them. Bakugo looks around, and then said, so only 𝗧𝗵𝗲 and Deku haven't arrived yet. They'll be here soon. I texted Todoroki-san and said that he and Midoriya would be here in any moment. Momo said they should hurry up though. Ashido grumbles and kinda hungry. Sane. Kaminari nods. It's proper that we should wait for both Todoroki-kun and Midoriya-kun, Ida said with his arms waving once more, though it's nice that Todoroki seems to be hanging out with us, Mizo points out. But that's because Midoriya is with him, Kirishima says. But still, it's nice that we met him, he's actually a nice guy. Still, Midoriya is an omega, right? Todoroki sure is lucky. Zero exclaims, oh how I wish I would be a Todoroki. Just think how many boobs I could touch. No, just think on how I can take Midoriya anywhere for a date. I may be straight, only gay. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 shut up. Kiro Tsuyu used her tongue to slap 𝗵𝗲 hard on the face. But still, Uraraka caught their attention. Todoroki-kun and Midoriya-kun seems to be a perfect couple. They look cute together. They all nodded. Kirishima took the liberty of slapping 𝗵𝗲's face before he could say something vulgar. Everyone, they all turned and saw Izuku with Shoto beside him. They waved at the both of them, which the duo waves back. Hey, Kirishima waves as he traps Izuku in a friendly headlock. Glad that you and Todoroki could come. Izuku chuckles. Yeah, Shokin agrees to it. Plus, it's quite fun hanging out with you. Shoto then interrupts. Alright Kirishima, you can let go now. Oh yes, sorry. They all chuckled. Yash. Ashido cheers happily. Now that Midori is here, we can eat lunch. Now that you mention it, Shokin and I are kinda hungry. Izuku sheepishly smiles as Shoto nods. Alright, now that everyone is here, we can eat at McDonald's. It was a majority vote, so we had no choice. Yash. Everyone cheered. They were about to have fun with their weekend, getting to know the new addition of their group. Just to eat at McDonald's, they know that Bakugo will throw his fries at Kaminari. Ashido may steal Kaminari's food. Satu only eating the desserts. A fun day for the whole group. But they stopped when they saw what seems to be a black hole right in front of them. They immediately prepared, knowing that something isn't right. But they all turned when they heard a loud explosion from the other direction. The people started panicking and ran to the nearest exits. They group were pushed from the people who ran and stampeded everywhere. Shoto quickly grabs Izuku and held him by his chest, protecting the Omega from the riot. Just then another explosion occurred, and it caused a massive panic. What the fuck? Bakugo growls as he held on his ground while people are pushing and running. That was a lot of explosion. What's going on? Momo looks around with a worried look. Kyoka, can you locate where the explosion came from? I can't. The noise is too much. Dark Shadow, can you see what's going on? Tokoyami asks. Yes. Dark Shadow then extended upward and observed their surroundings. His eyes widens. Teeth scattered. They are around the mall. Shit. How did they even get in? Then they recognized what Dark Shadow meant. They saw the sneers of those who are just standing. The grim look, the thirst for blood, the familiar presence. They are villains. One villain had some sort dark green energy orb from his hand. The other had some sort of metallic tentacles with a variety of weapons. They looked around and saw villains scattered around the mall. Villains. 𝗵𝗲 exclaims, how did they even get in here? Kaminari exclaims. Shoto grits his teeth when he notices every villain in the vicinity of the mall. He noticed Izuku's eyes wandering around the dual-colored teen. Knew that look. Izuku was observing his areas. Look out, Kirishima-kun. Izuku pointed at the upward right. A villain with hands that turned into an axe proceeded to attack Kirishima. But thanks to Izuku's warning, Kirishima used his hardening quirk to block it. But it then came to it. Some villains now charged forward with the intent of a brutal fight. Shoto then prepared his ice quirk with a strong sense of hearing. He raised a large ice block right in front of 6 villains. Then with his arm extended forward, sharp shards of ice rose from the floor and was headed straight for them. The speed of the ice didn't give them enough time to think as they were trapped by it. An explosion was then caused by Bakugo. There were 7 villains who took charge of attacking Bakugo, but it was proven as a fatal mistake. Die bastards. Bakugo shot an explosion right on their faces, which they were blown away. Another villain appeared with a pipe on his hand. He was about to hit Bakugo, but was cut off from a solid punch in the gut by none other than 𝐒𝐻𝐢𝐵𝐵𝐺. Bakugo clicks his tongue. I was about to beat that fucktard 𝐒𝐻𝐢𝐵𝐵𝐺 grins mind. If I join you, Momo and Jiru were teamed up together, as they were surrounded by a villain that seems to have a cloning quirk. The villain cloned into 9 copies. As he proceeded to attack the 2 girls, Momo dodged some of them and made a strong metal rod appear on her hand. Jiru did her best to dodge the attacks from the villain. Then at the blink of an eye she noticed a clone heading straight for Momo, who is in her blind spot. She then inserted her earphone jack by her boots and released a sonic attack. Momo took notice of it. When the villain was pushed away, Shoto and Kaminari were having a rough time. Their villain had metallic tentacles with various weapons on it. They managed to dodge some of the attacks, but they were soon caught by one of its metallic tentacles. It grabbed their legs and drags them up. While Izuku was being protected by Shoto, he noticed Kaminari and Shoto in a pinch. Then Izuku remembered Shoto's quirk Ashidosen, use your acid and shoot it by the tentacles. Izuku shouts toward them. Shoto was able to pick up what Izuku said to her. Okay. She shouted Shoto, then opens her palms and shoots acid on the tentacles. Holding both Kaminari and herself, the villain screamed in pain, which caused him to let them go as they were to land on their feet. Izuku calls them out once more. Kaminari-kun shock him enough to lose consciousness. But not too much, Roger, Kaminari exclaims, as he fired his lightning of the right level. Tokoyami and Mizo were able to support the others who were in a pinch. Tokoyami uses his dark shadow to blow or blast them away. Mizo was able to support Tokoyami from any villain that seemed to attack him on his blind side. Uraraka was able to float some villains and drops them in larger heights. Ida used his Recipro burst to confuse the villains, then either kicks or punches them. Zero uses his tape to capture some villains. Shoto has had enough of it. He noticed that not one villain wasn't willing to give up. Izu, get into a safe distance. I'm doing the move that I always practice, Shokin. You know that it's not yet perfected, Izuku exclaims. I know. But right now we might be outnumbered. If this still occurs, it'll be fine. Izuku was hesitant at first, but decides to follow. He then calls for the people who are still watching. Everyone get out of here as quickly as possible. The other remaining civilians quickly took their leave as Izuku took a safer distance. He looks from afar, wondering about something. The pros should have picked this up right now. But why aren't there no pro heroes yet? Izuku thoughts. He then looks at Shoto with worried eyes. His left side was starting to be covered in ice, as his right began to form frost. Shokin. Shoto breathes as he lets the ice surround him. He then opens his eyes and reaches his hand forward. Uraraka-san, everyone get out of there. They all heard the urgency that Izuku sent to them. Quickly they abandoned their fights and ran to a safer distance of heights. Kirishima had to drag Bakugo away just so Shoto could do his move. Enough. Shoto's ice exploded as it spreads throughout the floor. Spikes started to appear as it races toward every villain there is. Before they could all escape, every villain near Shoto's vicinity was caught by the ice. Even as they tried to escape, the ice spreads toward them until it reached onto their heads. Every villain was captured. Shoto breathes heavily. As he kneels down, he looked at his hand and saw that it was trembling. Shit, he used every ounce he had of his ice. One wrong move or overdoing it will make his arms hurt like hell. Shokin. Izuku exclaims as he ran toward Shoto. Izuku kneels down as he quickly caught the dual-colored teen before he could collapse. Shoto saw that there was blood in Izuku's nose. He reaches it and wipes them out. He smiles after that. Okay, please calm down. Izuku smiles and glad. The rest of the group quickly ran toward Shoto, who is catching his breath. They noticed every villain caught by the ice as they attempt to escape. Zero whistles. Whoa, nice job, Todoroki. Tisk. You should have let me blow these shits up. Kirishima pats Bakugo's shoulder. Yeah, let's just be thankful that they are all trapped. Everyone nodded. Right on cue. The pro heroes started to appear, mainly Eraserhead, All Might Endeavor, and Present Mike Aizawa-sensei. Everyone exclaims. We heard what happened in here. Sorry it took so long. There was also another villain ambush by the city. All Might said. Another. Everyone exclaims. Endeavor then noticed his son kneeling down and breathing. Izuku was beside him trying to help Shoto. The pro heroes then noticed the villains caught in the ice. Sorry that you all had to be dragged in here. Endeavor apologized. We will take responsibility to what happened here. Before he could finish his response, they saw numerous black wrap gates being opened up for every villain. The villains who were caught by the ice were teleported away. The pro heroes grit their teeth as the teens looked at it with horror. Just then they noticed that Shoto and Izuku were pushed away. Shoto stood up and tried to go to Izuku, only to be stopped by an invisible force. Then they all saw a purple barrier being formed around them. Izuku, Shoto exclaims as he tries to break the barrier, only to remain as it is. Then right in front of them 2 persons appeared. One was a woman, and another was a man with hands around every part of his body. The other villain's hand glowed purple. The teens and the pros grit their teeth in frustration. The woman had a barrier quirk. Then beside those 2 villains, 3 monstrous creatures appeared beside him. Their eyes widen out of disgust and fear. Shoto, on the other hand, is feeling every inch of fear there is. Here he is, and the rest inside the barrier. While Izuku was outside ignoring the pain, he activated his ice quirk and released every attack there is to break the barrier. But it still remained intact. The man then chuckles. Has sorry to tell you heroes, that barrier will never break. It will be there for 20 minutes, plenty of time to spread our name. Izuku stares at the man in front of him, the man that seems to be in charge of the attack. Even through the distance he could see behind the hands were red eyes and a grim, deathly smile. His hand points forward. Get the boy. One-winged Namu flew with speed. Immediately grabs Izuku. Shoto felt fear and rage deep within him. The ice around his right arm covered him, and he immediately punches every part of the barrier with his ice. He even tried to use the spikes. All Might even tried to dispel the quirk by punching with both speed and brutal strength. Endeavor fired every bit of his quirk to melt the barrier, but it remained intact. The others also tried every inch of their strength to break the barrier, but it was futile. Then they heard the man laughing maniacally. The people inside the barrier could only stare with wide eyes, disbelief and fear. Shigaraki held Izuku by his neck. The green-haired teen struggled and kept his hand by the villain's arms in order to not choke himself. But they all noticed that Shigaraki's one index finger hasn't touched Izuku's neck yet. Midoriya Izuku. Shoto became frantic as he punches the barrier even more. But before he could punch another, he felt a sharp pain in his arm. 𝐒𝐻. Shoto kneels down as he held his sore arms, which is now covered in frozen bits and bruises. 𝐓𝐻𝐿. Izuku could only call his name weakly. The grip in his throat tightens up a bit. How? Shigaraki laughs. Endeavor quickly ran toward his son, who was holding his right arm in pain. The others ran toward Shoto as they stare at the villain in front of them. Listen right now, heroes. Especially you, All Might. We are the League of Villains. You thought that this long-time alliance would end. Guess again. 𝐒𝐻. Izuku cries in pain as Shigaraki tightens the grip. Shoto scream. He tried to activate his ice quirk, but it still failed to break the barrier. Look at how pathetic you are. You call yourself as heroes, yet you can't even save this useless kid. Shoto and the other teens could only stare at him with anger. But the dual-colored teen had more hatred inside of him. The pro could only watch helplessly as Shigaraki continues to choke Izuku. All Might's fists were clenching hard that it already had drawn blood. Where's that persona of yours? Saving them with a smile. How pathetic you're. Now fucking useless. Look, you're all so pitiful you can't even save him. Shigaraki then threw Izuku hard on the floor. The moment the teen reached the floor, he coughed out blood. Fuck, Shoto exclaims. As he stood up once more, he ran toward the barrier and just punches it with his own strength. Shigaraki grins with a snap of his fingers. He commanded the 𝗵𝗲 kill the boy painfully. The 𝗵𝗲 slowly walked toward Izuku, who was breathing heavily. Stop it. All Might now shouted, his tone filled with worry. What do you really want? For you heroes to suffer now? Watch with your pathetic eyes as you see this boy brutally killed. It would really destroy you. Think of the headline, heroes failed to save a teenage boy. As shut up. Shigaraki stopped and looked at the boy. He stops toward him and quickly picks him up by his neck again. Did you say anything? Shigaraki grins. Did I hit a nerve, weakling? As shut up. How? Loud and clear, so that they could hear you begging for your pathetic life. It then happened so fast. Suddenly a pair of large, beautiful white wings with the size of 22 feet. The people inside the barrier stares in awe as they saw 2 beautiful wings at Izuku's back. Then the wings had red markings around it, as it also surrounds Izuku's body. He raises his head, blood present in his mouth and nose. I said shut up. His wings then flapped hard, releasing a strong force of wind. Shigaraki was blown away from the impact, and the villain with the barrier quirk was pushed away. The 𝗵𝗲 were also sent flying due to the strong winds. The teens and the pro heroes looked at the impact it released. It was able to knock those 3 𝗵𝗲s and the 2 villains away from him. Not only that glasses were shattered, and the foundations that are slightly weak came tumbling down. Shigaraki groans as he got out from the debris. He became angry. Izuku, on the other hand, glares at the villains with his wings spread out. You've gone too far. Just then the markings were gone, and his wings became frozen at the left side, and green flames surrounded his right wing. Ice and fire surrounded Izuku's arms. I won't let you. When Anamu was about to attack him, Izuku raised his hand forward as ice starts to appear on the floor. Just like Shoto's attack, massive sharp icicles started to spread throughout the floor. It then fired multiple sharp shards at the Namu, which then was impaled through both arms and legs. Another Namu appeared and almost scratched Izuku, but he was able to fly away from it and fired a massive flamethrower at the Namu, burning it to crisps. The winged Namu, however, was clever. Before Izuku could turn, it slashed its claws toward Izuku. The green-haired teen barely dodged, but it slashed onto his leg. The Namu, who was impaled by ice, was able to get out and proceeded to attack Izuku once more. He then spreads his wings and flies, dodging every attack, while firing his ice or fire quirk. The heroes and the teens stared at Izuku. No one knew that he had such raw power hidden within him. They can see how Izuku fights, even if it's only his first time, but Shoto is still worried. He can see that Izuku can hold himself up, but he doesn't know until when he looks at his injured right hand, already trembling from pain. But then his eyes gaze at his left side. I'm scared of using my left side. Pathetic. But it's your quirk, right, Shokin? I'm so pathetic. You don't know that yet, Shokin. Maybe your flames have a different feeling since it's yours, not your father's, but it's your own quirk. Letting fear get the best of me when my Izu is there fighting. Shoto then stands up as he walks toward the barrier. He raises his left side. It's yours, Shokin, since it's yours. It has a different feeling. Heroes don't always fight with half of their strength. They give it their all. Red flames starts to spread throughout Shoto's left side. Then he envisions Izuku's smile and his encouraging words. Slowly his flames turn blue. This is my quirk, Shoto shouts as he shoots blue hot flames by the barrier. Endeavor's eyes widens when he notices Shoto's sudden use of his flame quirk. It was different from his. The others could only watch as the dual-colored teen fires every inch of his fire. Shoto feels that his fire is different. It wasn't like what he felt when he was a child. I won't let you hurt Izuku. With one final shout, his fire made a hole to the barrier, which completely breaks it all. Shoto didn't waste any opportunity and ran toward Izuku. He fired his flames at the flying Namu, which caused it to dodge. Shokin, Izuku, exclaims Izu. Before Shoto could say something, Izuku quickly held his arms and flies away, dodging the attack from two Nomas. He then calls Shoto, Shokin, let's wait for their next unison attack. Then we launch them with our fire. Roger. Shoto nods. Izuku's other wing then turned into green flames, ice surrounding it disappearing. They got onto a higher ledge and raised their arms. Combined fire attack. They both shouted as both green and blue flames fired out of their hands. The Nomas got caught of the flames, quickly got disintegrated. Smoke covered the whole wrecked mall. Izuku quickly flapped his wings to clear the smoke, only to find out that Shigaraki escaped. He escaped. Kaminari exclaims, look. Uraraka points at both Shoto and Izuku. They were staring at each other, Shoto staring in awe at the sight of Izuku's wings. They are now pure white, no flames, no ice, and no red markings. Shoto remembers it, the wings that he first saw when they were kids. Izuku smiles when his wings started to get smaller and kept hidden in his back. He began to cough violently. Shoto quickly ran toward him and caught the teen before he could fall. Izu. Shoto calls the name of his mate, but Izuku already lost consciousness. All of class 1 stayed at the waiting area. While Izuku was still on IQ being checked, Shoto had both his arms bandaged. Turns out that since his blue flames were powerful and untrained, it led Shoto to have burns as an injury and a bruised and wounded right arm. They waited for the news of Izuku's health. Right now the other heroes focused on the press, just to keep what happened at the mall a secret. But their minds were still clouded when Aizawa explained what Izuku's quirk truly is. Ancient wings is what Aizawa calls as ancient wings, is said to be believed as a blessing of the gods by religious believers due to its limitless possibilities. It appears every 200 years and has an ancient lineage. Midoriya Izuku came from that lineage, but Midoriya was chosen for it. According to what I've read, the style of the wings changes depending on the quirk. From what we've seen, it has the same description. But there's a downside, right? Shoto asks. Yes. Aizawa nods. It's the stamina and health of the user as a post and pre-effects. You noticed that he didn't cough up any blood when he is using it. They all nodded. It seems that his quirk is giving him strength to adjust while using it. But before and after is a different thing. He might have some side effects. The whole group tensed. So far, that's all I could tell you on my knowledge about Midoriya's quirk. But there is another downside of it. Their eyes widens. Since ancient wings only appear once for 2 centuries, I'm sure that the word has already spread. But not everyone is like you. Aizawa stares at them with a grim and serious look. Many would want that quirk since it can't be stolen or passed. Many would want him as puppets or as a test dummy. Aizawa can see that Shoto is clenching his fist. That's why the board may have come to a decision in order to fully utilize and help Midoriya with his quirk. He sighs. We might decide him to switch to Heroes class. All of class 1 stayed at the waiting area. While Izuku was still on IQ being checked, Shoto had both his arms bandaged. Turns out that since his blue flames were powerful and untrained, it led Shoto to have burns as an injury and a bruised and wounded right arm. Shoto looked at his arm and observed every part of his bandaged arm. His eyes narrowed and his eyebrows scrunched. He saw what Izuku can do. His hunch was right. Izuku is strong and has the limitless potential. What made him irritated was the fact that he helplessly watched Izuku fight. He was able to hold his ground, but all his life Shoto protected Izuku, and not the other way around. It made him worry for the future. It was not only Shoto. They waited for the news of Izuku's health. Right now the other pro heroes focused on the press just to keep what happened at the mall a secret. But their minds were still clouded when Aizawa explained what Izuku's quirk truly is. Ancient wings is what Aizawa calls it. The pro hero explained it all. Ancient wings is said to be believed as a blessing of the gods by religious believers due to its limitless possibilities. It appears every 200 years and has an ancient lineage. Midoriya Izuku came from that lineage, but Midoriya was chosen for it. According to what I've read, the style of the wings changes depending on the quirk. From what we've seen, it has the same description. Something like that exists? Momo asked. And Aizawa nods. Yes, it's because I've seen his quirk right in front of me. Aizawa looks at Shoto and saw that he had a bewildered look. He took it as a sign that the dual-colored teen was new to this information. 6 years ago, I think I was badly wounded by the alley. I saw a bright light. Then wings, its feather floating toward me. The next thing I know, I was already healed. That was the first time I saw his quirk. He was unconscious. After that, I brought him to Recovery Girl. And even she has doubts. He then looks at Shoto. That's where you saw me with Midoriya Todoroki. Shoto then replies, that time he healed you. After that, I researched the characteristics of what I've seen with my eyes. It took me 2 years to find the answer until I discovered it. While capturing some underground villains, I managed to get files that contain many quirks of long generations. The main gist of that document is the rare and dormant quirk Ancient Wings. So what you're saying is that this shit nerd has the same quirk? Then Bakugo surprisingly replies, yes, I showed it to the higher-ups, which includes Nezu and Endeavor. When All Might entered UA, we told him the gist. We even told some of the pro heroes that can be trusted with this. But since you're telling us this, there's a downside, right? Shoto asks. Yes. Aizawa nods. It's the stamina and health of the user as a post and pre-effects. You noticed that he didn't cough up any blood when he is using it. They all nodded. It seems that his quirk is giving him strength to adjust while using it. But before and after is a different thing. He might have some side effects after he uses it. He coughs out blood. Even when before he used it. When that villain is saying something, oh my god. Shoto had the look of both despair and fear. Worry overwhelmed him about the truth of Izuku's quirk. The whole group tensed. So far, that's all I could tell you on my knowledge about Midoriya's quirk. But there is another downside of it. Their eyes widens. Since ancient wings only appear once for 2 centuries, I'm sure that the word has already spread. But not everyone is like you. Aizawa stares at them with a grim and serious look. Many would want that quirk since it can't be stolen or passed. Many would want him as puppets or as a test dummy. Aizawa can see that Shoto is clenching his fist. That's why the board may have come to a decision in order to fully utilize and help Midoriya with his quirk. He sighs. We might decide him to switch to Heroes class. The whole class brightens up at the news. Shoto looks even more determined because Izuku is finally within his line of sight. But then he remembers one thing. It was Izuku's mother. How would she cope if she finds out about this? Word must have gotten out already. And in a few moments 𝐭𝐽 would be here to scold him again. She would be angry. But then Shoto remembers Izuku's dream. Now that he has a quirk that's powerful and useful, he can be a hero. But then Bakugo suddenly speaks. Are you saying that shitty nerd would be with us? You would bring him in our class? That's a fucking load of bullshit, Bakugo. Shoto glares at the blonde. You said that it's dangerous. You said that many would try to take that damn Deku. But you're saying that he will go to hero class. Are you fucking kidding me? Deku would be fucking slaughtered. Shoto almost punched Bakugo. If it weren't for the fact that Aizawa is looking at him with a warning, the other class could smell the anger of both alphas. They could never understand Bakugo's anger. But Shoto is another thing. They can see that he's close to Izuku, plus the smell that he emitted at first was both worry and fear. He growls at the blonde, then replies, you're underestimating Izuku. Here you saw how he almost beat those 3 monsters. Pray to tell me, Bakugo, to why you're implying that Izuku is weak. His voice was calm, but it held a monstrous and venomous tone. No one wanted to interfere nor stop them. They both released a pheromone of superiority. Bakugo didn't even look back. What if I am Scarfaced? You got a problem. You're utterly despicable. Is that even hero-like? Says you. You only defend that bastard shit nerd because he's an omega. Bakugo raised his voice out of anger. He suddenly shoves Bakugo to the wall and used his ice to hold both the blonde's arms. Fuck you, Bakugo. I would never stoop as low as that. Reason to defend and protect him. Not once did I ever look at him like a someone so weak when we were all kids. Shoto growls as frost started to cover his face, his left side suddenly smoking. You don't know Deku more than I do. Bakugo growls. Kirishima suddenly interjects. Stop it, Bakugo. Insulting Midoriya. Want help? Anything? Momo joins in and said, Bakugo-san and Todoroki-san, please calm down. This is a hospital. Midoriya-san would get upset, and we may disturb other patients. But neither of the two stopped from fighting. Before Bakugo could ever answer, Shoto beats him to it. The alpha pheromones in the air feels heavy, even for both fellow alphas and betas. Oh, I know him. And I don't force him to reveal things that is personal. Not unless I know it's completely needed. He can be scared at times. I also know that he got hurt from some bastard who doesn't know how to keep his mouth shut. But I know that he's strong, unlike you. You're absolutely despicable. Shoto's patience is quickly dropping. Fuck you and your sappy shit story. You don't know the half of it, you half bastard. Bakugo's voice raises even more. Todoroki-kun. Bakugo, stop. This now. Ida now took action to stop them. But Bakugo glares at the other alpha, can it 4 eyes. He then turns his eyes back at Shoto. So what if I am? You have no right. You're just like any other alpha in this goddamn world. You want him by your own personal reason. You're just fucking screwing yourself up. You have no claim over him. Shoto has had enough. He held Bakugo by the hem of his shirt and ice started to frost the blonde shirt. Yes, I have. That's his only reply. He then glares daggers at the blonde, promising a cruel fate. He's mine. Back off. Shoto's voice resonated like a roar of a dangerous beast. Bakugo clicked his tongue in annoyance. Fuck off. He breaks the ice and uses an explosion toward Shoto. The dual-colored teen dodges, but the green wristband was burned off. Shoto quickly held his wrist to cover it. The two are prepared to fight. Aizawa has had enough. He activated his quirk, which made Bakugo's explosion cut off and Shoto's ice stopped spreading from his body. If you both don't stop right now, I'm personally going to expel both of you. Both of them. Calm down. Bakugo looking away while Shoto glares at the blonde. But the blonde noticed the mark on Shoto's wrist. Aizawa and the rest of the class saw it. Shoto's soulmate mark. The dual-colored teen noticed it and clicks his tongue. Damn it, he whispers to himself. Just then they heard a gasp near them. Endeavor is there along with 𝐭𝐽 and Yukio. 𝐭𝐽 gasps when she saw that Shoto's soul mark was revealed. Not only that they were able to hear every word they said. Teethe, now no. 𝐭𝐽 thoughts. Aunt 𝐭𝐽. Shoto stutters with wide eyes. He knew that it was bound to happen. Shoto just didn't thought that it would be now. She didn't look at them, but rather she walks forward and asks a nurse. When she found out about Izuku's room number, she ran as fast as she can and didn't bat an eye at the other students. Shoto's eyes widens, realizing what would happen next. He didn't wait for his classmates to ask him. He immediately ran. The others soon followed. Sensing Shoto's urgency of the situation, they called for him to wait up. But he doesn't respond nor looked back at them, he just ran following the green-haired woman, which seems to be Izuku's mother. They lost sight of Shoto the moment he took the elevator alone. Luckily, while running, Uraraka and Momo were able to find Izuku's room without any difficulty. Aizawa led the students to room 410, the 4th floor. They ran quickly and were able to arrive at his designated room. But it was slightly opened. They found Shoto standing by the door listening. Todoroki Zero shouts SHH. Shoto urges them to be quiet. Slowly, they went to where Shoto was standing. Then they heard the crying voice of Izuku's mother. Shoto didn't bat an eye toward them. He sensed the fear and worry of his mate. It made his hand grip the wall hard. Instead, both him and Aizawa went to the room, leaving the whole class wanted to listen. Inko's eyes widens when Shoto and Aizawa enters the room. They looked at Izuku, who didn't even gaze at their eyes. He held the tears that threatened to fall. Shoto's eyes widens because he noticed the blood on his nose that Izuku is trying to suppress. Quickly, he ran toward Izuku's side and grabs one of his spare handkerchiefs. He wiped the blood away, leaving Inko to cry even more. Why, Izuku? Inko chokes out a sob. It wasn't supposed to be like this. You know that it's not safe, you know that. Izuku softly sobs. I'm sorry, Mom. Shoto hugs Izuku. As he slowly cries, the dual-colored teen prepares some handkerchiefs and tissues for emergencies. You know that, Izuku, I can't have you going around just to get yourself hurt. Inko starts to raise her voice. Inko, please calm down. Aizawa then steps forward as he tries to calm the green-haired woman down. You don't understand, Aizawa. Inko slaps Aizawa's hand away. Hell, get my son. Those villains will get my son. He's the only one I have in this world. The only one. The whole class wanna stiffens when Inko said those words. They knew that an Omega is truly protected, and it was considered a crime if they were to bring any harm. But now they realize a bit to Izuku's power and secondary gender. He will be considered as a rare and prized Omega. Many would want him to be marked by some random alpha or beta, or worse, to be used as a trophy for fame and glory, since having an Omega is considered as a mate's true treasure. But many failed to realize what it truly means. Izuku is truly powerful from what they've seen in their eyes. But they finally realized that even in Izuku's strength, they saw how he fights to those who oppressed someone he truly cares about. That may be one of the reasons why Shoto is protecting him. When they found out that Izuku healed him and Aizawa and faced grave consequences, Shoto vowed not to make Izuku use his quirk to him. Class 1 realized that Izuku is strong, but they felt that he needs someone who can stay beside him. I don't want to lose you, Izuku. I told you to keep your quirk hidden. It's dangerous. It's untamed. It's just a curse in your life and my life. Inko sobs. I should have never enrolled you in Yui. When you leave this hospital, you'll drop out and Yui. Izuku's eyes widens as tears started to fall once again. Shoto quickly grabs many tissues as he can to wipe the blood. He even released a calming scent toward the Omega. It worked a bit, but it still wasn't effective. He wanted to scream at Inko for saying such ludicrous words, but Shoto was worried that Izuku might feel worse again. Shoto could only comfort him in silence, while making Izuku feel that he's in a safe place. He can't feel angry right now. His mate would come first. Then the door opens widely as some of Class 1 enters the room. Momo, Ida, Uraraka, Kirishima, and Takoyami enters the room. The rest stayed outside. But since the door is open, they all peeked from outside. Midoriya and Momo began. Then all of a sudden, everyone in Class 1 bows in front of the woman. Aizawa got the gist of it, and also bows were very sorry for what happened. Everyone apologized in unison. Inko stares at them. Izuku calmly stopped crying when he noticed everyone apologizing. All of a sudden, Shoto sensed and smelled the scent of worry from all of them. But he stayed by Izuku's side. We regret what happened at the mall, Momo said first. We were just supposed to have fun since Midoriya-kun became a part of our group, Uraraka said as she looks down. But when it all happened, we didn't know what to do but fight for self-defense. Ada explains. It's true, Shoto suddenly spoke. I was also there. They were attacking us, and the only thing we can do is fight. Izu didn't even fight. He was behind me all this time because he's afraid of breaking your promise again. Suddenly, everyone's eyes widens. Deep within his dual-colored eyes were held back tears. He had a frustrated look. Izuku could only look at Shoto with wide, worried eyes. It was the first time, except Inko, who saw the dual-colored alpha crying with pent-up frustration from the fight and from Bakugo's sudden anger. He was with me, then that damned villain separated us, I couldn't do anything. In the end, he almost got hurt. Because of me, Shoto puts a hand on his eyes, covering them. I tried to break free with them, but just because of our helplessness, Izuku came in and fought. He chose to fight. He then stares at Inko. You shouldn't blame Izu and Inko, it should be me. Izu is strong. He fought those monsters. I only stayed by and watched him do it. Then Tokoyami interjects. It's not just your fault, Todoroki. We all have the share of blame. Midoriya protected us while we were trapped in that barrier. Then Kirishima began to talk. It's true, Midoriya-san. It's our fault. But Izuku here kicked their butts. He's strong, he's smart, plus we don't want him to ever part with us. We all agree, Aoyama said, as everyone nods. What these teens are saying is all true. They all gasped when they saw the familiar figure, yellow hair, sapphire eyes. But he's not in his very muscular form. Rather, he's in his normal form, but had a bit of muscle in it. All Might, the whole class, one exclaims. But Inko's eyes widens. Tashinori looked at Inko with sad, yet nostalgic eyes. Hello to you too, Inko. Shoto and Izuku could only look at the two with confusion. You've probably heard what young Midoriya has done to me. He healed me, Inko, and I owe him very much, Tashinori said. But I can't let you stop him from reaching his dreams. He stares at Izuku, who finally calms down. He's strong. Him rushing head-on is something that only true heroes can accomplish. He knew the consequences, but still rushed to protect us. He then went near Inko and held her shoulder gently. He can be a hero, Inko. It's his dream, right? Even in his condition, he proved to all of us that he's as strong as any future heroes around this room and all over the world. Tashinori then bows. I'll take full responsibility for young Midoriya here. But please let him continue. Inko didn't know what to say as everyone could only look at her. They begged for Izuku to stay, but her heart and mind didn't want it, Mom. They all turned as Izuku finally spoke. Shoto still stayed beside him. You know that I want to be a hero, right, Izuku? I know that it's dangerous. The condition that I'm in right now will prove otherwise. But I finally saw what my quirk can do. I didn't understand it at first, but when I finally used it, I know that this power can help me. He looks at everyone, especially his mother. I don't want to be the weak Deku anymore, Mom. I want to be strong. I want to prove that I can overcome anything, even my condition. All of a sudden, his wings appeared right in front of them. He coughs out blood, but was able to quickly wipe it off. Inko became even more worried, but it all disappeared when he saw his son crying with a smile. It was contentment and fulfillment. Ancient wings. Is my quirk right? I'll grow stronger with this power. I'll be a hero, Mom. It can be anywhere if not in Yui. But I still want to be a hero. I'll help him grow stronger, if needed, as Izuku's soulmate and future mate. I will. Shoto suddenly interjects. I believe in Izu, and I also want him to fulfill his dream. Inko stares at them. She couldn't handle it anymore. She ran toward Izuku and hugs him with all her might. Inko was crying, but she didn't show any more objections. I'm sorry, Izuku. I'm sorry. Izuku hugs his mother. I forgive you. Please don't cry. Everyone felt warm by the scene. Izuku is finally happy. His dream of being a hero will start now. Shoto watched from beside Izuku and sighs in relief. Man, it sure is manly that you love one's mother, Kirishima said as he wiped some tears off young Midoriya. They all turned and saw Tashinori with his hand extended. Welcome to Class 1A. Your stepping stone in becoming a hero. Shoto didn't even go to school when the doctors said that Izuku needs to stay at the hospital for 4 days. Even with the green-haired teen constantly saying to go, Shoto stubbornly stays. Izuku soon gave up and just go around with it. He loves Shoto, even if they weren't official yet. But sometimes Shoto's protectiveness is tad a bit much. Adds some comfort in the hospital. Shoto brought some of his clothes for Izuku. It wasn't yet his nesting day, but Shoto just wanted to give Izuku comfort, plus Izuku requested it. Shoto can't find no as an answer. Shoto was also beside Izuku while they were both reading a book. The green-haired teen still in an oxygen mask. The blood bag is no longer in his arm, but the Roman 4 drop is still there. Beside them were some of his blood supplements, just in case Izuku had another case of nosebleed from sudden surges of emotions. Their reading came to a halt when they heard a knock from the door. The door opened, and it revealed Kaminari, Shiro, Kirishima, and Ishido. In their hands were 3 boxes of treats of different varieties. Hi, Midoriya. They all greeted in unison. Izuku stutters. Shoto puts a bookmark on the book, then sets it down. Midoriya Izuku exclaims, "We brought some sweets." "Ooh, thank you." Izuku smiles. As he accepts them, the class managed to give some money. "So we brought some of these pastries that Momo and Jiru recommended for you," 𝗧𝗏 explains. "Not only that, you'll be our classmate next week." "That's great, dude. Can't wait for it, bro," Kirishima said, as he carefully locks Izuku in a headlock. "Yeah." Izuku smiles. "From what I've heard, Shoto said that you're all okay." "I can't wait." They looked at Shoto, who was slightly clearing his throat, looking away from them. "Wow, Todoroki is saying something nice to us. That's touching, dude." Kaminari exclaims, "Don't push it," was Shoto's only reply. Izuku observes as Kaminari continues to tease Shoto. Though he kept a calm facade, Izuku could see the faint blush on his face as Shoto and 𝗧𝗏 then continues to tell him that many are looking forward for Izuku to be a part of class 1A. He then turns and notices Kirishima looking at them with a wide smile. He then turns to look at Izuku. "That's what our scenery is. But it sure brings some comfort around us." Oh, Izuku then began to imagine the life he'll have when he enters a new class. Just then he remembered something about his quirk. His mother and Shoto gave him some of the copies that Aizawa has about his quirk. He studies them and realizes something: it has limitless possibilities. He then knew that his wings were the source of its powers. Izuku felt them when he used both fire and ice, believed as a blessing by ancient and powerful deities. Izuku took the night to think and feel his powers. He knew that there is still something within him. "Kirishima-kun, can you show me your quirk once more? I want to observe something." Sure." Kirishima obliges as his right arm hardens. The others observed what Izuku meant. The green-haired teen caresses the hardened arm, which caused Kirishima to blush from the contact. Quirk is not that much, huh? Kirishima sighs. "No, it's actually useful. If you were to see it, it's good for defense and hard on attack. When trained, you can cause great damage and effect too." "Really?" Izuku nods. "What the—" "Kirishima, you lucky bastard!" 𝗧𝗏 and Kaminari shouted within their thoughts. Shoto, on the other hand, had a hard time to conceal and don't feel every inch of instinct to pounce. "Kirishima, thanks." "Kirishima-kun, I just want to know how your hardening feels." "Any time." Kirishima smiles as he sheepishly rubs the back of his head. Then Izuku stares at Kaminari. An idea popped in his head. "Kaminari-kun, can you send me a light shock of your electricity quirk?" All of them had wide eyes, especially Kaminari. "What are you planning?" Shoto asks, not sure to Izuku's intentions. "I know what I'm doing." Shokin, Izuku says as he held out his hand. "It's something that I must figure out." He then stares at Kaminari. "Please, just a light shock. I'm trying to figure out something." "All right." Kaminari went near Izuku and touched his hand. He then proceeds to send a light shock of his electricity. Izuku flinches, but didn't move his hand away after the sudden shock. He then nods and smiles in relief. "Good, thank you, Kirishima-kun and Kaminari-kun." Izuku smiles. Yeah, they looked away, not wanting Izuku to see their blush. Shoto only observed what Izuku did, but he knew that deep within his green orbs were some discoveries about his quirk. Momo, Jiru, Tokoyami, Uraraka, Ida, and Tsuyu then visited next. Momo and Ida brought some spare notes from their previous lessons. Jiru brought some of her spare MP3 for Izuku. Uraraka and Tsuyu brought some refreshments, while Tokoyami brought a novel that can ease Izuku's boredom. Midoriya both Ida Momo called his name. They put 2 notebooks beside his bed. "Thayer notes from our lectures in class." Ida points them out. "We made sure that you can understand and read them well." Momo said, "Thank you, everyone." Izuku smiles. The others proceeded to give their treats to Izuku. He accepts them as Shoto keeps them in some place that won't overcrowd Izuku's bed. Izuku smiles at them as the others proceeds to tell him of their time when Izuku wasn't still in class 1A or about Shoto. "So you're using your phone when you know that it was my free time, but it's still your class." "Yeah." Shoto nods, looking away. "Shokin, you know that's not allowed." "I can't help it, sorry." The rest of them chuckled. A few hours after that, the others said their goodbyes, only but one. Momo is still there. She didn't follow the others, who chose to now leave because of the time. "Yayurazu." Shoto looks at her. "Is something wrong?" "Yayurazu-san," Izuku asks. Momo didn't answer. Quickly she stares at her hands, wondering about her own self. "Midoriya-san, how can you be so confident with yourself?" "What do you mean?" Izuku asks back. "I'm not that confident." "But you are." Momo exclaims. "You and Todoroki-san. I saw Todoroki-san's abilities. Even if he only used his ice that time, he can defeat anyone. Momo kept her gaze fixated at Izuku. Then you, someone who only activates his quirk after not using it for how many years, yet you were able to hold your ground. You fought those things while we're trapped in that barrier. Yaoyorozu. Shoto looks at her. Not Yaoyorozu, Izuku said before Momo could even speak. Shoto shakes his head. The truth is, I am not that confident in myself too. Yaoyorozu Shokin knows that Midoriya. The truth is, I was bullied for being quirkless. They also thought that I'm weak and can't do anything. You shouldn't say that to yourself. You have an amazing quirk. And I heard that you are also recommended. Momo stares at the floor as she realizes what he meant. Izuku was really lucky that Shoto is now beside him. Since they were kids, Momo never experienced bullying. But she experienced the jealous gazes of her other classmates. Before the others looked jealous at her for being smart, her parents never even had any time for her. They were rich, but they never had time for her, nor time to help her. But I have no right to ever judge, nor decide for your life, Yaoyorozu. But everyone has the chance to change one's pace. And to be a hero is one thing. Izuku smiles as he continues. We're in Yui now. We see each other as future heroes. They see you as someone who is both smart and talented. Yaoyorozu. You're our vice rep, right? If you want, let's become stronger together. Yaoyorozu. Yumi Shokin and all of class 1. Izuku extends his hand along with Shoto. Both of them smiled. Let's be friends. Then she looks at them. Izuku with his warm smile and Shoto who nods with a smile. Momo then went towards them and gave Izuku a hug. Momo was careful of the wires, but her hug was sincere and true. Then she separated from the hug and faces backward. Yaoyorozu. Shoto calls her name. They noticed that she raised her shirt upward. They blushed. But both of them noticed 2 items falling out of her body. Izuku observes how Momo creates various objects. Then she puts her blouse down and faces back at them. Here, she then gives them some sort of bracelet. Izuku had a green one, while Shoto had a mix of red and blue. If you don't mind, Izuku wears them along with Shoto right by their soulmate mark. It's beautiful. Thank you, Yaoyorozu. Thank you, Yaoyorozu. Momo smiles. You're welcome. Aoyama, Mizo, Ajiro, Hagakure, and Minta soon entered with some plush stuffed toys bunny. They didn't know why, but it was Hagakure's idea to pick stuffed animals. What made the gift a bit tad too much was that Minta brought a dozen of roses plus some oddly scented chocolates. Shoto made a mental note to burn them later and put the ashes on the trash. He didn't want the grape-headed perverted beta to ever give his bunny something that has a suspicious scent. He would just accept it first, then burn it when Izuku's asleep. Hey, I've heard that you're now in class 1, right? Minta asks as he went beside Izuku. Yeah, well, be classmates. That's great. There's a vacant spot in front of me. You can sit there. And before Minta could speak, Shoto grabs him by the back of his shirt. When the purple grape-headed midget gave the gift and flirted again, Shoto felt the urge to either freeze or burn him in the depths of hell. But Shoto failed, kept calm, while his left side was smoking. But when Minta suggested that their seats are near each other, that's a big giant no for one Todoroki. Shoto. So while holding the midget, he calmly said, I heard that Aizawa will have a range check in seating arrangements. So you're not lucky, grape-headed pervert, was the missing line in Shoto's statement. So Shoto calmly puts him on the floor and froze his feet. The rest kept on talking to Izuku, while Minta is struggling to get the ice off. Shoto and Izuku were eating some of 𝐭𝐸's homemade dinner. She left a few minutes ago in order to get some stuff from home. Enji and Yukio were able to visit and told them wonderful news since Inko agreed for Izuku to take on the path of a hero. Yukio, Enji, and even Toshinori agreed to help the boy in mastering 3 of the given powers of ancient wings. Shoto even volunteered to help Izuku in controlling his quirk in half form. They finished eating when a knock came from the door. It opened, revealing Shinsu with 2 orange juices for them. Hitochin, Izuku exclaims. Hello, Hitoshi. Shoto greets. Hello to you too, Shoto. Izuku, I see that you're doing fine, Shinsu said. As he puts the juices down by the table, Izuku nods. Yeah, I'll be out in this hospital the day after tomorrow. That's good, Shinsu smiles. I heard what happened. You've finally got a strong quirk. How am proud, Izuku. And Shoto knew the tone behind Shinsu's voice. The green-haired teen was worried since they both knew what Shinsu has gone through. Hitochin, I never regret meeting both of you, especially you, Izuku. He smiles. I'm still in love with you. But I know that it won't ever return. I don't want to be the one to destroy both of you, Hitoshi. Then that means. Yeah, Aizawa offered me a spot. But I declined. I'll have to prove my worth in order to be at hero class. Unlike you, Izuku, they saw your potential. I'm sure that you'll be great someday. He then turns away, not batting an eye to the both of them. Next time we meet, it will be as rivals in the sports festival. I won't throw away our friendship, but I'll prove to everyone that I'm strong. Hitochin Izuku the halts when Shoto puts a hand on his shoulder. Are you sure you can handle yourself, Hitoshi? Yet don't hold back when we fight, both of you. With that, he left them. When Shinsu knew he was at a safer distance, he slowly lets a tear flow from his eyes. I'll have to grow strong. Izuku said that I can be a hero. That's the only thing I can do that is dedicated for you, even if I need to let you go. Shoto and Izuku didn't do anything after Shinsu's visit. They merely slept at each other's arms. Izuku even begs for Shoto to sleep with him by the bed, and not the cramped sofa. They both shared a bed, as the two of them held hand, feeling each other's scent and warmth. The green-haired Omega snuggles at Shoto's chest, while the dual-colored teen puts a hand at Izuku's cheeks. It was around 200 m when they smelled another alpha in the vicinity of the room. Slowly, they both woke up and turned by the chair near the door. Bakugo is there, calmly waiting for them to wake up. He still looked angry, but it was calm. His scent didn't even release any angry or infuriated pheromones. They were silent and calm. In his hands were what seems to be a gift basket filled with tomatoes, green vegetables, and oranges. It's not like I fucking care or anything, Bakugo softly growled. My old hag made me bring this shit. She said about this helping your health. 200 m in the morning, almost empty wallet that is hidden behind Bakugo's pants. Nice try, Explodo boy. Thank you, Kaken. Izuku smiles. As he rubs his eyes, Bakugo clicks his tongue. Yeah, whatever. He then puts the vegetable orange basket in the table. Shoto and Bakugo had a staring contest, but neither released any growling nor angry looks. They were calm, like they were observing each other. Kaken. Their trances were cut off when Izuku calls his name. Bakugo clutches his hand hard as he looks away. I'm still fixated with the thought that this is all fucking stupid. Y'all be beaten up your ass till you're fucking dead. Bakugo. Shoto warns the blonde. You're remembering the time when we were kids, right? That time. I just realized it now. He then stares at Bakugo. Is that why you've been avoiding me? Bakugo didn't look at them. His expression remains unreadable. Who gives a shitload about that, Deku? You think that you can survive there? I don't fucking think so. Maybe you're right. The two of them looked at Izuku with both confusion and shock. But Shoto knew the look that Izuku has right now. Izuku looks at both of them, but especially toward Bakugo. You may be right about that, Kachen, Izuku said, but still kept his gaze at the blonde. But it doesn't mean that I'll stop here right now. Bakugo clicks his tongue. I told you, that I'm not gonna sit here and do nothing. Katsuki. For the first time, Bakugo's eyes widens by the sudden change of the nickname. We're not kids anymore, plus I've been offered another chance to prove myself. It's over, Katsuki. I'm not the same Deku you knew from before. If the reason that you've been a big ass was because of that incident, I suggest that you forget it. You don't know that, Deku. You don't know that I wanted to say something, but I can't. That's why I'll take this path and figure it out. I'm tired of being weak. I decided to let go of my past and make a new one. It's time that you do it now, Katsuki. From what I've seen, you're not the same childhood friend that I once looked up to. Bakugo's eyes widens even more. But he had that pain that was pent up for how many years? Katsuki, I always look up to you because you're smart and strong. The moment you got your quirk is the moment I knew that you'll be a great hero. But I never pegged you to pick on the weak, especially me. I remember our promises when it was just you and I before Shokin came into my life. That day, I just wanted to help. But your damn pride got the best of you. Izuku clutches his hand hard. He could feel the blood from his nose that now drips down. While his eyes had tears, he didn't choke out a sob. He cried silently. Shoto sensed it. He wanted to interfere, but he sensed Izuku's resolve and his silent request to not interfere. I've changed. I won't accept your insults anymore or your lack of faith in me. I'll just have to prove it to you then. Izuku looks at Bakugo with pent-up anger, frustration, and determination. Starting today, until I notice something has changed, we no longer have the same relationship from before. We are merely classmates or rivals. But I'll not call you my friend anymore. Bakugo's eyes remained at Izuku's form, He kept it all calm and unreadable. He then glares at them, not noticing that deep inside his lips were his teeth gritting. But he didn't explode nor shout. Instead, he silently leaves the room, not looking back at them. He knew that he shouldn't be feeling this. Bakugo knew that he can handle someone being angry at him, nor saying those words. Yet why? Why does it hurt? Bakugo quickly walks away from the hospital, ignoring the fact that his tears continue to flow from his eyes. Izuku then wept while Shoto comforts him, wiping both tears and blood off. Izuku finally released one of his pent-up frustrations. It was harsh, but Izuku knew that one day he'll forgive his former childhood friend. They had many fun times. But it must now come to an end to that memories. He lost a childhood friend. Bakugo lost a childhood friend, and someone he truly cares about, but cannot admit. 1 week later, the whole class could only chatter out of excitement, since it was finally the time where Izuku would come to their class. They even went out of themselves to pick his uniform, and gave it to him last Friday. Everyone was looking forward for Izuku to finally be their classmate. They even made a plan of making sure that Minato not planning anything stupid, since Tokoyami sat beside Minato and Shoto is at a near vicinity to him at the back, along with Shiro, who's beside Izuku. They can team up to make sure that the midget beta kept his hands to himself, and for his mouth to be shut. They are ready, because at Mineta's seat, he's already mumbling about future plans of him and his mate. Not gonna say it a big noob. The whole class could only glare at the midget, while preparing of ways to keep that grape juice off from women, and from their now precious cinnamon roll. Midoriya Izuku. Izuku also felt the same predicament of being prepared, since his classmates went their way of getting his uniform. Izuku doesn't know why they did. Even if he has won, his mother even prepared some of his stuff for school. Enji took the liberty to buy some of his notebooks and pencils for school. Shoto even helped him in homework and notes during the weekend, since Izuku was a bright, smart, and hardworking boy. He managed to finish all of it by Sunday afternoon. He is already fine with going to class. One, at least for him. He'll be with Shoto. The dual-colored team picked him up from his home, as they both walk and took a train. Thanks to the efforts of many pro heroes and Yuyui, they were able to keep the identity of Izuku from the mall scene. It's still a hot topic, especially with the fresh declaration of the villain alliance. Shoto looks at Izuku, who was invested in his hero book of observations and facts. When they were in the 4th grade, Izuku would always drag Shoto to a scene where a hero and villain fight can occur. That's where Shoto noticed that Izuku has terrific observation skills. It was music to Shoto's ears when the green-haired Omega would mumble about his plans, his ideas, and many more. Shoto looks at his wrist, not covered anymore, and had the given bracelet from Yaoyorozu. Izuku also has it, and didn't even dare to lose it. They are now at the vicinity of their school. Luckily, the school was able to send Izuku's new ID on time. As they walked toward their classmate, they noticed the gazes of many near and afar. They were staring at Izuku. They must have found out immediately, Shoto thoughts. When he felt Izuku being nervous, he gently held Izuku's hand onto his own. It calmed the green-haired teen and made him blush. Shoto smiles at the cute scene in front of him. "You'll be fine. No need to feel nervous," Shoto assures him. "I know, I just feel a bit nervous. It won't cause a nosebleed, though." Shoto nods, releasing a calm pheromone toward Izuku. "You really are tense. It will be fine." Izuku nods. He didn't know why he was feeling a bit nervous, but he sighs and decides to straighten up. The dual-colored teen nods in approval. "That's better." They both arrived at the front door of class. One, Shoto looks at Izuku, who is breathing slowly while trying to calm his nerves down. Izuku breathes and looks at it with determination. His dream is finally here in his reach. With a sigh, they both entered the room to find the whole class cheering for him. "Welcome to class, Midoriya." Izuku slightly jumps from the surprise of everyone greeting him. Shoto looks at Momo with the same look of knowing something. The green-haired Omega sheepishly grins while rubbing the back of his head. "Wow, you all are lively," Izuku says, as he chuckles. "Get used to it. You'll be here with us for a long time." Kaminari excitedly exclaims. Jiru smacks Kaminari's head. "Don't scare him like he's going to be trapped in hell for a long time." Kirishima then waves at Izuku before gently trapping him in a headlock. "So you're now officially our classmate, huh? Well, that's great." Midoriya-chan. They looked and saw Tsuyu with cookies in her hand. "My siblings, and I made it." Tsuyu gave the cookies, which Izuku happily receives. "Thank you, Asuo-san. Please call me Tsuyu." Sure. Tsuyu felt happy to have a new friend. Then Momo quickly ran toward him. "Midoriya-san, Todoroki-san." She greets. "You're both okay, right?" she asks. as she remembers Shoto and Izuku's outburst. They both nodded, then Izuku answers, "We're fine." Deku-kun Izuku flinches at the nickname. They turned and saw Uraraka and Ida walking toward them. Ida then bows. "You truly are stronger than me, Midoriya-kun." Ida stands up straight. "What you showed at the mall is truly something. Not even I can handle that kind of fight for a beginner. You truly are something." Izuku raises his hand, feeling embarrassed. "It's nothing. You also did a lot and fought well. You all deserve credit." Tokoyami stares at Izuku with a smile. "Give yourself some credit." Then Midoriya, "You fought well too." Shoto then asks Uraraka, "Why do you call Izuku Deku?" She stares at Shoto and answer, "Well, I heard it from Bakugo." She points at the blonde, who chose to ignore all of them, even if he sees it as an insult. "I see it as something that says you can do it." Shoto smiles. "I believe in that too." Uraraka then replies, "Really well, you are very close to Deku-kun." Shoto nods, feeling that he and Uraraka will be close. "I believe in him." Izuku hears what Shoto and Uraraka were talking about. He smiles. "Everyone's believes in me. Really do my best. Aizawa-sensei is coming." Ida suddenly shouts. Everyone quickly took their seats. Unfortunately, Minato was behind Izuku. Shoto glares at the grape-headed midget. In an unhidden matter, Tokoyami and Suro prepares, just in case the midget beta did something stupid. Aizawa then enters the class. "Good morning." "Good morning." Aizawa then stood at the front center. "As you all know, we will now have a new student joining with us." He motioned his eyes toward Izuku, who nods anyways. He then presses a button from the remote, revealing their P uniforms. "You've now seen your new class number, right? Suit up. We're having quirk training again." Shoto still kept his pouch in his right side. He even froze some of the parts of the pouch to make sure that the meds and some tissues and handkerchiefs are well kept. They all gathered at the grounds once more as they wondered the next thing they are about to do. "We also did this on the first day of class." Ashido whispers toward Izuku. "Oh. What happened?" Izuku asks Ashido. Then replies, "We just had a quirk assessment test. Aizawa-sensei threatened an expulsion to us if we were dead last Kaminari." Then joins the conversation and chuckles. Luckily, Minato's the only one who is on Aizawa-sensei's list of keeping an eye for expulsion. I mean, he's already shaking like a leaf." Kaminari points at Minato, who is truly shaking. "Oh." Izuku sweat drops. Shoto, Momo along with Tokoyami and Uraraka stood near them. "Is it okay for your mate to ever be near them? I imagine you being jealous right now," Tokoyami Alpha said as he points at the three. "It's fine. I trust all of you now as much as I trust Izu. It's okay for him to have friends too. You really care for him so much, huh?" Momo Alpha asks. Shoto nods. "We're now standing here with a common dream to be heroes. No one would ever look down, nor ever bully us anymore." Uraraka nods. "I can see that too. Deku-kun will like it here. But I don't trust that great pervert." Shoto points at Minato, who is eyeing on Izuku and Ashido. Tokoyami, Momo, and Uraraka had the same grim look for Minato. "Who doesn't?" they all replied in unison. Aizawa then called their attention, which everybody obliges. "Well, be doing what we have done on your first days. I just want to see how you improved your bodies a bit." Since he looks at all of them, "You fought villains at the mall. I'm sure that every one of you will think that this is now a serious matter. We just barely convinced your parents that it's still fine to study in Yuyui." Everyone looked at Aizawa seriously. Izuku was one of the few who has an unreadable expression, but they know that the one who had an impact in that incident was both Shoto and Izuku. One that released his left side, both red and blue flames, one that released the suppressed and powerful quirk. But both suffered the burden of being weak, and one who watches the other in agony. Let's see how you all fare right now. To say that Aizawa was both pissed and disappointed throughout the entire test. Izuku only showed his wings, but remained folded to his back. He coughs out blood when it appeared. After that, nothing. He was a bit surprised that Izuku can survive the workout without ever coughing up blood, nor having a nosebleed. But Izuku didn't show his quirk. It ticked Aizawa off. He knows of the teen's predicament, but him being in that state would waste every inch of his potential. Aizawa knows that the kid can do great things, but having issues won't help. It would be meaningless if Izuku were to remain in that. It's time to take matters into his own hand. They were at the last test. The softball throw. Bakugo held the highest once again with the score of 705. 50 meters. Damn, Bakugo still threw hard. Shoto, on the other hand, changed his game set since Izuku is now here along with Bakugo, who seemed to have a new mindset of the events. Shoto knew that playing around won't get him anywhere, so he took the ball and held it on his left side. Even at the hospital, when 𝐭𝐽 or his parents would switch for watching Izuku, he would train his fire side, both red and blue. After the incident with the mall, both Izuku and Shoto suffered burn marks and bruises from using their fire and ice quirk. The dual-colored teen already got the hang of it and was able to lessen and heal some burns. He hid his marks by always wearing long-sleeved shirts. He stares at Izuku, who is wishing him good luck. Then he saw Bakugo staring at him with a glint of challenge and dare for Shoto to accept. He smelled what Bakugo wants. He is challenging him with a calm sigh. He releases his flames red in color, but slowly it turned blue surrounding his left side. He quickly steps into the circle, prepares to throw. And then finally he did like what Bakugo did. The ball flew like a blue comet. It was fast and powerful as flames surrounds the ball up onto the air. Aizawa then shows the record 800 meters. Wow, Todoroki beat Bakugo's score. Kaminari stares in awe. He wasn't even serious on the first day. Momo stares at Shoto. Bakugo must have added fuel to the burning flame. Aizawa stares at both of them. Since Midoriya is already here, something changed. It's like neither of them are giving up. Shoto finally calms down as he lets his flames dissipated. He looked at his arms and saw light burn marks. They weren't the same from before, but he knew that it still wasn't enough. I still have them. It's still not enough. He clutches his hand. Seems like you've improved, Todoroki. Keep up with that, Aizawa said as Shoto nods in confirmation before he could even walk. He saw the glint in Aizawa's eyes. He didn't like it, but it was better for him to stay on guard. It was then Izuku's turn. Shoto didn't know why he held back at every exams. Shoto knew that Izuku always has his reasons, but it made him feel eerie. Izuku calmly grabs the ball from Aizawa's hand. His spread-out wings then had red linings surrounding it, the wind around them. Then they noticed that there was a red lining in Izuku's arms. Slowly, he prepares himself and throws. But the ball didn't make it far. Izuku's eyes widens, but he knew who would make that kind of quirk. Eraserhead. Aizawa-sensei. Izuku looks at the man. Aizawa had his eyes wide open and his hair standing up. Izuku also notices the capture gear around Aizawa's neck. It captured Shoto, who is also struggling for release. The green-haired teen then noticed that his wings were still wide open, but his other quirks were off. He even noticed Shoto, who was trying to use his quirk. Shoto knew what was about to happen. He sensed it. He was about to stop Izuku when Aizawa captured him, dispelling both his and Izuku's quirk. Damn it, Shoto grits his teeth. Since your wings is a mutation quirk, I could only stop your other elemental quirks. I wouldn't have stopped it without a reason, but am rather disappointed in you. Maybe I should expel you. Izuku's eyes widens. Shoto tries to shout, but the capture gear also blocked his mouth. You're holding back. You think villains would ever think of that? They'll kill you on the spot before you can even attack. Aizawa then eyed his wings, especially since you hold that powerful and rare quirk. But the user is incompetent. Aizawa knew that he's slowly crossing the line, but he needed the Omega Teen to adapt in order for him to survive in the world of heroes. What would this powerful quirk be if the user is weak and incompetent? Izuku's eyes widens. His bangs slowly hid his eyes. Aizawa then dispels his quirk, but still kept Shoto on capture. Izuku stares at the sky. No one can see his expression right now, but they can feel the Omega's distress and sense of fear and panic. You think that someone like you would ever get in? That's hilarious. No way, this quirkless loser wants to be a hero. Ha 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 ha. This is the best joke that I've ever heard. He's sickly and weak. Hell, die before we know that he's in the field. Maybe you shall just give up. There are other things that someone like you can do. Deku, weak, quirkless. Who would want you? Shut up, weak, shut up. They could hear him mumble those two simple words. Shoto's eyes widens as he stares at Aizawa. Aizawa-sensei, let me go now. Weak. Aizawa-sensei, shut up. Just then a burst of green lightning surrounds Izuku's wings up until his whole body. It sparked every inch of his body. But he didn't look at everyone. Kaminari stares at the green lightning emanating from Izuku's body. It's the same as yours, Kaminari, Shido exclaims as they covered their faces from the bright green light. No, it's different from mine. It's far different, but still looks powerful and cool. Kaminari stares in awe. Shoto was now out of his bounds, but he cannot get close to Izuku. Shit. He exclaims 𝐒𝐭𝐴-sensei stop him before he goes out of control. Aizawa didn't need to be told twice as he uses his quirk. The lightning then stopped and Izuku remained in his spot. But they noticed the green sparks in Izuku's legs. They were shocked when Izuku used his wings and flew toward Aizawa. He didn't bat an eye toward them. He took a ball and flew back from his original spot. After 15 seconds, they noticed that the sparks on Izuku's legs disappeared. Then his wings glowed again, one with red linings on his right, and one with green sparks on his left. He prepares once more. Smash, he shouts, as he threw the ball, wind mixing with green lighting as it flew fast like the speed lighting. Aizawa then shows Izuku's record 890 meters. Everyone exclaims. Shoto stares at Izuku. As he notices his left leg with sparks, his right leg can move, but the opposite is different. But when Izuku lets his wings shrink and hid behind his back, he violently coughs out blood, which lets out blood covering every inch of his hand. But he still stood tall, while showing his hand filled with blood. The eyes glowed with determination. I can still stand, Izuku calmly replies. I won't let this side effects ever stop me. Overcome it. Aizawa secretly grins. Before anyone could react, Shoto quickly ran toward Izuku and hugs him. Damn. It, Shoto hissed under his breath. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 taking you to recovery, girl. With that, he carries Izuku in his arms. As they both walked away, he glances one last time at Aizawa before leaving them by the corners of the building. Toshinori witnessed the power Izuku released. His eyes were wide when he saw the familiar sensation when he used that wind quirk. Some hidden force hit Toshinori from the inside. It wasn't painful, but it was calling out to him. Young Midoriya, you hold such powerful quirk. But your wind, it's so familiar to say that. Chiyo didn't even react when the two returned to the infirmary. She then hooked Izuku with a few liters of blood back. While tending on Shoto's slightly burned arm, Shoto observes Izuku, who is taking down notes. He heard the other teen mumbling about downsides and effects. Izu, what are you doing? Shoto asks. Oh, just taking some notes from what I've observed from my quirk. I see. Shoto felt interested. Care to enlighten me? Well, Izuku begins. I noticed that when I use or release my wings before and after, I would always cough out blood. But when I'm using it in my winged form, I don't. This must be what Aizawa-sensei meant about my quirk giving energy. Then he continues. But when I used fire, lightning, and ice, it was a different story. He looks at Shoto. You've noticed, right? Yeah. Izuku then continues. When I use fire, I'll have slight burn marks depending on how strong I'm using it. In ice, my arms gets a bit bruised. Then now my lightning quirk, it paralyzes my legs for 15 seconds. It all depends on which part of my body is using it, just like you. I can use half of it. Shoto nods, agreeing and understanding what Izuku meant. Then what about your wind quirk? Izuku stares at Shoto, then answers, feeling uncertain. The truth is, this wind quirk is kinda mysterious to me. Yes, I can make wind currents depending on where my wings and some parts of my body would attack. But when I use it, I feel like my body can withstand any attack. He then looks at his hand. When I used that quirk, I never got any injuries. They would always remain the same. I think that only my wind quirk is my mastered type. Shoto sighs and ruffles Izuku's hair. I'm sure that you'll master them, oh great Deku. Izuku pouts. Now you're using the name Uraraka-san is calling me. Shoto smiles. Nah, I'll still call you Izu, only I can call you that. Fine. Then they heard the door slide open. Aizawa came in and eyed the both of them. He then asks, how are your injuries? Todoroki, they're okay. Shoto replies, unsure of what he should feel from seeing Aizawa. He then faces Izuku. I have no right to apologize to what happened, but it's the least I can do for the trouble. Forgive me for pushing you, Midoriya. Aizawa then bows. Izuku shakes his head. It's fine, Aizawa-sensei. I guess I just need to toughen up even more. You're right. They won't wait for me to get adjusted. Izuku stares at both of them. You're right, I have an amazing quirk, but I still can't use it to my full potential. I guess that maybe using the healing quirk while I was young took a toll out of me. Izuku smiles, remembering what he saw from his sudden panic attack. But now I'll improve. It may take a while, but I saw what I can do. I'll make ancient wings my own. As the owner of it, thank you, Aizawa-san, for making me realize it. Aizawa stares at the boy. He truly is how right on time. Chiyo removed the blood bag and gave him some blood supplements. When Aizawa, Shoto, and Izuku returned from class, they found out that all of them haven't changed. They said that they are waiting for Shoto and Izuku to return. Now they went to their respective lockers. The locker room is consisted of 4 rooms. One is the room for alpha and beta males, and beside it is for the omega males. The other is for the alpha and beta females, and beside is for the omega females. Every room is completely scent-proof, but it will ring an alarm to the teachers if an omega is in heat, and students will be busted damned if someone would enter in an omega room. Since Izuku is the only omega in class 1A, he is alone in the omega changing room. The males proceeds to change in the room. Shoto was able to finish first and left them immediately. Kirishima and Kaminari finished changing. When they noticed Minato doing something, "What are you doing, Minato?" Kaminari asks. "Perfect timing." Kaminari Minato then pointed on 2 small holes between the walls. "There's a peephole. One is with the girls, and one is with Midoriya." "What?" every guy minus Tokoyami shouted from surprise and fear. "Because peephole, the midget perverted lecherous fantasies for the purple-headed fucktard. Our senpais must have prepared this for us. The chance that we can take a pee." "Stop it, Minato-kun. That is a violation for both school regulation and moral conducts," Ida shouts, trying to stop Minato. "How can I miss this chance?" He then points at the right peephole. "This might be where Midoriya is changing, just think of it." He then slowly peeps his creamy white skin, those freckles, fluffy hair. Heck, he might have soft skin. Minato, I think you shouldn't do that." Kirishima warns. "How can I miss this chance? I can now see the girls' boobies and sexy bodies along with." Before Kirishima could stop Minato, or before they could all even stop him, an earphone jack appeared from the hole and poked Minato's eyes at 𝐎𝑗𝐽𝑡𝑠. "That pervert!" Hagakure exclaims. "That's just vile, Kiro. How dare he would peek on us? And on Midoriya-san. I can't believe that Minato-kun even plans to peek on Deku-kun." Jiru then slowly removes his jack from the hole and puts on a shirt. He then walks on the door and went out with a deep breath. She shouts, "Todoroki-kun, Minato is peeking at the omega locker room." Before the rest of the males can process what happened, Shoto came inside with a pissed-off look, releasing pheromones of being irritated and protectiveness. With one step, ice spreads toward Minato as he turns into a human popsicle. Then Shoto left Minato after a few minutes of silently pitying and despising Minato. Bakugo puts his hand on the ice and produced a powerful and large explosion, leaving Minato to be scorched at the same time. The other males sighs, "Minato, please control that shit attitude of yours." Inko sits at the cafe feeling anxious about the guy she is meeting for a long time. She thought that hell forget her. After all, Inko was forced to let go of her true fated mate just because of something she cannot stop. Inko didn't know why she decides to say yes. After all, shouldn't the guy she once went out with be dating another woman? After all, he is popular and strong unlike her. Then she heard the door of the cafe opening and saw a man in a yellow suit, green and blue eyes meet for the first time for how many years. The man then sat at the opposite side of the table as they stared at each other. "Hello, Inko." "Hello to you too, as well, Toshinori."